We had Clinton. We had Prince Andrew. We had David Copperfield. That one was a big one for me. That was shocking. A lot of people were surprised about Stephen Hawking's being on the list. Did that one surprise you, Stephen Hawking's?
Well, I'd seen some things like that before this list was come out that he could be on it, so I guess I wasn't as shocked.
So, all right, so I wasn't shocked by him at all. A lot of people on the Twitter were.
Yeah.
But I recall a picture of him on the island floating around the internet for what feels like years now. What was floating around the internet last night was a portion of the what do you call it? The court transcripts, the court documents that was forged, that people were sharing as real. And I think this is something that we do have to be careful for, because nobody's going to dig through every single document unless you're a crazy person like myself. So there's going to be a lot of fakes out there. But there was one fake document floating around from Stephen Hawking's, and they said, in the fake document, it said, "Did Jeffrey ever talk to you about Stephen Hawking's proclivities?" And the answer was yes. He liked watching undressed midgets solve complex equations on too high up a chalkboard. It was obviously fake, and anybody paying attention would know that and tell you, but it was floating around. Now, other things that are floating around are Donald Trump. Donald Trump. You know, Republicans Against Trump is this Twitter account that's pretty popular with the Never Trumper Rhino community. The pro-Rhino community. And they were highlighting a part of the transcript that showed that, you know, Epstein went to Donald Trump's casino. And in the part of the transcript, it said, Jeffrey said, "Great, we'll call up Trump and we'll go. I don't recall the name of the casino, but we'll go to the casino." So they're using that to connect Trump, this Twitter account, Republicans Against Trump. And it's a big Twitter account. I mean, it has 536,000 followers, but that's what they're using to connect to Trump. Except, guys, you know, the thing about it is there's another part of the stuff that they left out about Trump. The fact that she was asked, "Have you ever massaged Donald Trump?" And she said, "No." Then she was asked, has Trump ever been to the home? She said, "No." Then she was asked, in Mexico? "No, not that I can remember." On his island? "No, not that I can remember." In New York? "No, not that I can remember." So it was basically confirmed that Donald Trump was not on the island, not at the home, not in New Mexico, not in New York with Jeffrey Epstein, according to this one witness. Now, again, if new information comes to light, and it could down the road, I'll be the first to tell you, yeah, Trump was involved. But as of right now, it does not appear that Trump was involved in this at all. I played this audio on the show yesterday. I want to play it again. It's attorney Bradley Edwards, who defended or represented 70 of Epstein's victims in a court case, talking about Donald Trump and whether or not he was involved in the court case.
Obviously, our current president has had relationships with Epstein in the past, and there are those Katie Johnson and maybe other victims who have accused Trump of being involved in things like this. In my experience, Trump supporters will not listen to anything along those lines. Obviously, we're not a court of law here right now, but are those claims of that case was dropped? It was dropped before it went to court. In your opinion, as a lawyer and your experience, is there anything you can say as to the validity of those claims, or whether or not there will be any more about that?
Nothing at all. The only thing that I can say about President Trump is that he is the only person who, in 2009, when I served a lot of subpoenas on a lot of people, or at least gave notice to some pretty connected people that I wanted to talk to them, he is the only person who picked up the phone and said, "Let's just talk. I'll give you as much time as you want. I'll tell you what you need to know," and was very helpful in the information that he gave, and gave no indication whatsoever that he was involved in anything untoward whatsoever, but had good information that checked out and that helped us, and that we didn't have to take a deposition of him.
That was in 2009?
That was in 2009. So,
do you know if there's any truth to James Patterson's claims that Trump kicked Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago?
I've definitely heard that.
So, with that clip from attorney Bradley Edwards on the Trump-Epstein connection, with what we're seeing in these documents on the Trump-Epstein connection, I think that we can pretty much put that one to bed. The Post-Millennial has this: in the unsealed trove of files on Jeffrey Epstein, it has been confirmed Donald Trump did not visit Epstein's home or island and did not have contact with underage girls. On page 112 of document 1320-12 of the files, during the examination of witness Johanna Sjoberg and by Laura Menninger, Sjoberg was asked by Menninger if Trump ever engaged in sexual contact with her. And she said, no. No. In previously released documents from the same case, released in 2019, Menninger asked Drew Frey about her previous interactions with journalist Sharon Churcher. Churcher had previously covered the Epstein case and was previously subpoenaed for defamation surrounding some of her reports. Menninger asked Drew Frey if any stories published by Churcher had included inaccuracies about Trump. When given the text of Churcher's reports about Trump, Drew Frey placed a mark indicating something was wrong with a passage that read, "He didn't partake in any sex with any of us, but he flirted with me. He'd laugh and tell Jeffrey, you've got the life." Drew Frey told Menninger he didn't partake in any sex with us, and it's not true that he flirted with me. Donald Trump never flirted with me. Then the next sentence is, he'd laugh and tell Jeffrey, you've got the life. I never said that to Churcher, Drew Frey continued. I mean, how much more info do we need that Trump wasn't involved? It's interesting because you see all this, and then a prominent Twitter account like Republicans Against Trump with 500,000 followers will still ignore all of that and post the portion where Epstein says, oh, we can go to Trump's casino. We can go to a public place where people are allowed publicly. Got him. We finally got the orange man. And, on news channels like CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, we'll see photos with Trump and Epstein. But they won't display the photos of Ghislaine Maxwell at Chelsea Clinton's wedding. We probably won't see those photos plastered all over TV when, as we learned in the documents that were released yesterday, Clinton likes him young. Clinton likes him young. Yep, that was a big take. Jeffrey Epstein, again, victim Johanna Sjoberg claims predator told her Clinton likes them young in bombshell newly released court documents. This from the Daily Mail. Bill Clinton likes them young as the former president and other big names once again find themselves embroiled in the appalling sex scandal. One May 2016 document released Wednesday night, a request for permission from the judge to take more depositions, includes detailed testimony already taken by Johanna Sjoberg, who was recruited at the age of 20 to work as a massage therapist. Sjoberg was recruited on a college campus, had no massage training, and she was forced to perform sex acts on Epstein. Sjoberg told the lawyers in 2016 that Epstein told her, Clinton likes them young. Clinton has long sought to play down his association with Epstein. Fascinating. Clinton likes them young. There's so much in this to dig through. Meanwhile, Senator Marsha Blackburn, is still pushing for subpoenas on the Jeffrey Epstein logs. And, she's pushing for these, and she's going to press Judiciary Committee Chairman Dick Durbin to continue subpoenaing the logs relating to reported sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein. I think that we need to go a little bit further than the flight logs. We know that the FBI has the video, audio, pictures from all of his residences. Can we FOIA that? Can we ask the FBI why they're withholding that? Because I'm personally frustrated. Like, this information is there. People in high offices have the info that will either exonerate or damn a lot of these individuals. And they won't release it. They're sitting on it. Our own FBI is sitting on it. And we have to find out through all these leaks and information releases and document drops, things that we already knew. It actually, honestly, it's starting to piss me off a little bit. This has been going on for far too long, and people in power have had much more information about this stuff for far too long. I think we're at a point now where the public can handle this. If it was 2012, 2013, 2014, yeah, there might be a public freakout if all of this stuff was dropped. But I think we're in a position now where your average Joe on the street is going to be able to handle this without losing their mind. But I think a lot of these individuals need to be brought to justice. And I'm sure a lot of these individuals need to be cleared, because there's definitely situations where you're going to be mentioned, you're going to be rubbing elbows with some of these people because the circles are small and you had nothing to do with it. So release the info. Get a detailed report. It's fascinating to me. Donald Trump has been, how many times has he been indicted now? How many? What are we at?
4?
No, he's got like 91 indictments.
Oh, well, oh yeah, sorry, I was thinking of the specific cases. Yeah. Yeah, it's close to 100 probably.
Right. How many of these Epstein client indictments do you know of? Anybody? That's the point. And back to Trump, I've long said they've gone after him every way that they can. You know, Chuck Schumer said these intelligence guys will have every way from Sunday getting back at you. 5 ways from Sunday. Well, if they had anything on him, I'm sure it would have come out by now. But instead, we wait. We get random document drops, and we have to find out this way. Now, there's things in there that I wasn't shocked. I'm not shocked that Bill Clinton is mentioned. I'm not shocked that Stephen Hawking is mentioned. I'm not shocked that Prince Andrew is mentioned. Magician David Copperfield, that one kind of threw me off. I didn't know David Copperfield was into any of this kind of stuff. Did you see David Copperfield coming?
I did not.
David Copperfield had dinner with Jeffrey Epstein and asked victim if she realized that the girls were getting paid to find other girls for him to abuse.
Yikes.
Bombshell court papers claim. Johanna Schoberg said she met magician David Copperfield at Epstein's house. She testified at a dinner. Copperfield asked her if she knew girls were getting paid to find other girls. It's like these guys were there and they knew about it. If now you look at pictures of David Copperfield and you're like, yeah. Kind of looks like a creep. I've never really paid much attention to Copperfield. But now that you're looking at a picture of him and you see these documents, you're like, kind of sketchy.
2251 says he couldn't make his name disappear off the list.
Ooh. Nailed it. Nailed it. All right. Well, David Copperfield was at Epstein's house and clearly knew what was going on. Are we going to see David Copperfield, brought to justice? Here's the thing that kills me. It's like a lot of these people we knew about, and they get thrown under the bus. And then some low-level loser that nobody really cares about, like David Copperfield, gets thrown under the bus. Alan Dershowitz gets thrown under the bus. It's like, okay, did anybody of actual consequence get named that we didn't already know about? That's key, that we didn't already know about. Because, yes, Prince Andrew, that's a big one. Bill Clinton, that's a big one. But anybody of actual consequence? Nope. It's 9:21 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We got more on the way. It's the Chris Hand Show. Find me on Twitter, Truth Social, Instagram. All of them are at Chris Hand on air. Hit the follow button. I will follow back. It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, it's Chris Ann from my friends at Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. Now, it's cold out there, and if your heating system is not running the way it should, you are realizing it. So it's time to get your system serviced the best way, the Busy Bee way, with Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. Don't wait for your heater to go down for good if you're noticing that it's not working the way it should right now. You got to be proactive. Keep your unit in tippy-toppy shape. Now, whether you need that annual maintenance, repair, or replacement, plumbing, heating, or air system, you got to call who I trust, Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. And you're not going to find a better value on replacement systems if you do need to replace your heater. These guys are going to give you up to 12 months, no payment, no interest, with approved credit, and it pays in so many ways to be signed up for that annual maintenance on your plumbing, heating, and air systems from Busy Bee. That way, you hopefully don't have to replace your heater if it's working fine now. And for added rewards and savings, I hope you sign up to be a Beehive member. You'll get thorough annual maintenance on your plumbing, heating, and air systems with no overtime charges, 24/7, and 10% off all repairs. Plus, Busy Bee always has convenient Saturday availability for those maintenance calls, so you'll never be left out in cold. Busy Bee, they're your Rude Pro partner for satisfaction guaranteed. Call Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. 615-775-7833. That's 615-775-7833 or online at busybeehvac.com.
Active shooter at a high school in Iowa. More Epstein documents to be released today, and a return to mandatory masking in some spots across the U.S. These stories and more at 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Mandatory masking?
Mandatory.
I'm already upset. I don't know where it is. I don't want you to give it away. Because I want to wait for your newscast. But I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not visiting there. Don't sign me up to go there.
Not going to be spending your hard-earned dollar there?
No. I'm visibly upset if you're watching on YouTube, on Super Talk TV. Visibly upset. Mandatory? Don't tell me mandatory. Didn't it already get proved that stuff didn't work? I always knew it was a joke when, remember the wildfires in California? The wildfires were happening in California. Everybody's masking up. Got to mask up for the mask up. And they said, hey, those masks, they're not going to protect you from wildfire smoke. I said, oh, okay. Turns out smoke particles larger than COVID-19 particles.
I liked how college basketball coaches would take their masks off, scream in their player's face, and then put the mask back on.
Yep.
Had to protect everybody going back to the bench.
It was great, yeah.
Yeah. Good times. Good times. Well, if you got a taste for nostalgia, hang out for Ken Weaver's newscast. Everybody loves nostalgia. Hey, if you have a taste for nostalgia, do you remember this? November 5th, 2019, Project Veritas had leaked footage of ABC News anchor Amy Robach complaining that ABC prevented her from sharing news about Jeffrey Epstein in the past.
I've had the story for 3 years. I've had this interview with Virginia Roberts. We would not put it on the air. First of all, I was told, who's Jeffrey Epstein? No one knows who that is. This is a stupid story. then the palace found out that we had her whole allegations about Prince Andrew and threatened us a million different ways. We were so afraid we wouldn't be able to interview Kate and Will that also quashed the story. And then Alan Dershowitz was also implicated in it because of the planes. She told me everything. She had pictures. She had everything. She was in hiding for 12 years. We convinced her to come out. We convinced her to talk to us. It was unbelievable what we had. Clinton. We had everything. I tried for 3 years to get it on, to no avail, and now it's all coming out, and it's like these new revelations, and I freaking had all of it. I'm so pissed right now. Like, every day I get more and more pissed because I'm just like, oh my God, what we had was unreal. Other women backing it up. Hey, yep.
So she's pissed, and I think it's important to point out she's not pissed that the royal family squashed it because of the victims. She was pissed that she didn't get to break the story. That's what she was pissed about. That's not a good person, for the record. And there's a lot of people that have information on this case that sit on it for years. And I'm tired of the people that sit on this kind of information. She should have gone out and been like, you know what, ABC, I'm going to go break this on my own. And go to Twitter, go to social media, go scream it from a mountaintop. Because that story deserved to be broke. And it was squashed by the royal family. ABC, yesterday there was that audio with Aaron Rodgers. Do you remember the Aaron Rodgers audio? He made the joke about Jimmy Kimmel we played.
Yeah. Technically his colleague.
Yeah, so Jimmy Kimmel had this. He said this yesterday.
Has something to do with the Epstein list that came out?
Feels like
That's supposed to be coming out soon.
Look, this guy's been waiting in his wine cellar. Yeah. I've been waiting in my wine cellar for this thing.
A lot of people, including Jimmy Kimmel, are really hoping that doesn't.
All right.
Well, Jimmy Kimmel got really upset about that. There were fake documents going around on Twitter linking Jimmy Kimmel to this latest document dump. Those were fabricated. He was not linked in this latest document dump. There are a lot of links that he has to Epstein, including friendship with Epstein's former personal chef, ties to the Clinton Foundation, all that. But again, that doesn't really mean anything. However, I thought it was cool yesterday that they even talked about this on an ABC channel after you hear, Disney owned, right? ABC, ESPN, they're all under the same umbrella. After, years of ABC shutting down the story. So I thought it was cool that it was even mentioned. Well, they had to turn around and apologize. And then JJ Watt was a guest on the show, and he made things super awkward. I got that audio for you coming up after Ken Weaver's newscast on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
9:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast in 2 minutes. Breaking news out of Iowa. An active shooter has been reported at a high school in Iowa. This is in Perry High School. This is in Perry, Iowa, which is about 45 miles outside of Des Moines. Right now, no reports on injuries. Apparently the extent of injuries, according to a report, not immediately known, but multiple ambulances and police response there at Perry High School in Perry, Iowa. More documents expected to be made public today connected to the late sex offender, Jeffrey Epstein. The first batch of documents released yesterday included arguments in 2016 by attorneys for alleged victim Virginia Giuffre as they tried to depose former President Bill Clinton in her defamation lawsuit against Epstein associate Ghislaine Maxwell. Giuffre had no allegations of wrongdoing against Clinton, and he was never deposed. And a return to mandatory masking in some spots across the U.S., some hospitals in at least 9 states now requiring people to wear their masks due to an increase of respiratory illnesses. 31 states, including Tennessee and Washington, D.C., now reporting high or very high respiratory activity. Hospitals in these states are the ones mandating masks. That's California, Illinois, Massachusetts, North Carolina, Washington, and Wisconsin. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. I recently did a workshop talking about some of the missteps of the investing industry, some of the biggest mutual fund companies out there. You probably recognize these names: Fidelity, Vanguard, Raymond James, Edward Jones, actually using data and information from their own websites as I walk through this. Now, one of the things I was talking about is diversification and how investors could be in for a rude awakening at the amount of risk that they actually have in their portfolios, and they don't even realize it. Now, the example I like to use to help people understand why do these huge companies do this? I mean, these are big companies. And you go, well, why? Well, think about the diet industry. In the diet industry, you had things like this: fat-free this, fat-free that, fat-free that. And what happened is they did a study. They were looking at diabetes in children. And what they found was that when they went fat-free, they actually ended up with more diabetes rather than less, because what they substituted for fat was sugar. Now, what happens in the mutual fund industry, they tend to keep costs low by investing in very narrow areas of the market that are inexpensive to manage. So what happens is the investor ends up with more risk than they think that they've got. Now, why do they do that? Because you are actually attracted by low costs. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't use these big mutual fund companies. It just means that you have to be eyes wide open. As an investment firm, we help people sidestep these things because sometimes you have no choice. You have a 401k, you're dealing with these fund companies, and you can't go anywhere else. So what we do is we help you go around these landmines. To set up an initial 15-minute phone call, go to our website, paulwinkler.com, or you can just scan the QR code right here. We look forward to talking with you.
Does that have something to do with the Epstein list that came out?
Feels like.
That's supposed to be coming out soon.
Look, this guy's been waiting in his wine cellar. Yeah. I've been waiting in my wine cellar for this thing.
A lot of people, including Jimmy Kimmel, are really hoping that doesn't.
All right.
That was Aaron Rodgers a couple days ago on the Pat McAfee show, claiming that Jimmy Kimmel is going to be on the list of associates. While the list came out, Jimmy Kimmel was not on the list, even though people were circulating fake documents saying he was. But trust me, those aren't real. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. You know, with all the stuff that's coming out, there are a bunch of fake documents. I made the comment that I was actually impressed that they were even discussing this on ESPN at all, a Disney-owned property, after years of the story being squashed over at ABC with Amy Robach saying that she had it all. Amy stated that she and ABC had the story and were threatened by powerful forces within the royal family because they didn't want the Prince Andrew stuff to come out. And they didn't want to lose access to Will and Kate. So they decided to listen to the royal family and not take down the most prolific pedophile in history, Jeffrey Epstein. That's ABC for you. So I was actually, you know, when ESPN, a Disney property, is actually covering this, you know, in jest, but at least having, you know, this is so mainstream right now that at least it's part of the conversation. I was like, that's pretty cool. Well, Disney turned around and made Pat McAfee apologize for Aaron Rodgers' claims. Yep. And after Pat McAfee had to apologize, his guest, J.J. Watt, was on the show, and he said that he had breaking news.
So now that we have that established,
nice.
This is great.
Is that the breaking news?
This is phenomenal.
Yeah. Is that the breaking news?
Is that what it was?
Oh, yeah, that's it. No, it was my breaking news was actually that I know absolutely nothing about the Epstein list, but I don't want to get in trouble.
JJ. Justin James, you son of a bitch. Why would you throw us in that pool?
That's Big J, baby.
That is BJ, isn't it?
Yeah.
He did that minutes after they apologized for bringing up Jimmy Kimmel on the Epstein list.
Yeah, they even made McAfee put on a shirt for the apology.
Oh, my gosh.
Crazy.
He
No tank top.
He just face palmed for it. He's like, oh, my gosh. JJ,
please.
What are you doing?
Get me fired.
What are you doing to me? They won't fire him. They can't fire that guy. Is there anybody else that's doing anything at ESPN anymore?
Stephen A. Smith.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, Stephen A. Smith.
Fair enough.
SVP at nights. But yeah. He's huge. No, McAfee's massive.
Would you think McAfee is bigger than ESPN itself now? Like, I think Stephen A. Smith, I don't even think of him as ESPN anymore. I think
he's his own entity.
brand.
Yeah.
McAfee's probably in the same lane.
Yeah, that same exact lane for sure.
Yeah.
100%.
They would be doing themselves a disservice if they got rid of him.
That's why they brought him on, because he was starting to beat them. Yeah.
I would have told them, no, I'm not going to apologize for a joke that a guest made.
A paid guest. That could be the thing. They do pay Aaron Rodgers, or the McAfee shows pays Aaron Rodgers, which means some form of ESPN and Disney is paying Aaron Rodgers. So
then wouldn't it be like Aaron Rodgers has to apologize, or I'm not like?
Yeah, that's a fair question.
I'm not going to apologize if you say something.
Yeah.
And I don't expect you to apologize if I say something.
Yeah. No,
it would probably be much more likely to happen.
Hey, sorry guys, he got a little carried away.
Yeah. Like, apologizing for what others say, that's weak. That's weak. But this is where we're at. I thought they were doing a cool thing, letting the joke slide, and then they made him apologize for it. Super weak. Not super dope, super weak. But the Epstein logs are out. What do you think about it? 615-737-9986. Phone lines are open. Super text line is open if you want to chime in on what you want. I got a text here from 8212. Never mind. I'm not going to read that one. 4295 has a offhand comment about Joe Biden. I'm not going to read that one. Then I find myself in an area where I have to apologize for super texters, where I'm just saying I don't want to apologize for others. I don't want to apologize for others. Listen, this is Ray said, well, it was Aaron Rodgers that was talking about it, not ESPN or a Disney network. But they made him apologize for it. That's the weak part. It was Aaron Rodgers that did it. It wasn't McAfee. It wasn't ESPN or Disney, but then they made him apologize for it. I mean, I don't know. I feel like they got to let that stuff slide. Doesn't the Disney network have enough dirt on their hands after this?
I've had this interview with Virginia Roberts. We would not put it on the air. First of all, I was told, who's Jeffrey Epstein? No one knows who that is. This is a stupid story. Then the palace found out that we had her whole allegations about Prince Andrew and threatened us a million different ways. We were so afraid we wouldn't be able to interview Kate and Will that also quashed the story. And then Alan Dershowitz was also implicated in it because of the planes. She told me everything. She had pictures. She had everything. She was in hiding for 12 years. We convinced her to come out. We convinced her to talk to us. It was unbelievable what we had. Clinton. We had everything. I tried for 3 years to get it on, to no avail, and now it's all coming out, and it's like these new revelations, and I freaking...
And she had it. And that's what she's upset about. That she had it, and they didn't let her air it. That's what she's mad about. That's ABC for you. They squashed the story. What a joke. As the Epstein documents come out, I want to get your reaction on it. 615-737-9986. John Does have been identified. there's a guy by the name of Technofog who runs a Substack, which is, for me, I think this is some of the better info and breakdown and analysis on it. Technofog is endorsed by a lot of mainstream conservatives. He's a smart guy, and I like the way that he breaks it down. So he has this. We finally know the names and some of the most important John Does referenced during the litigation of Virginia Giuffre versus Ghislaine Maxwell, those who are accused of being alleged perpetrators and witnesses to the Jeffrey Epstein criminal conduct. Earlier this evening, numerous documents were unredacted or otherwise unsealed in the Giuffre case. Here are the most scandalous allegations from tonight's documents, including the names of John Does and the details of the allegations they face. Name one, Bill Clinton. I mean, we could probably go down that. He made the comment. He said one time that Clinton likes them young, referring to girls. Then the Prince Andrew. New details, however, on allegations against Prince Andrew have surfaced. Ms. Schoberg testified that she met Prince Andrew with Virginia Giuffre when Virginia was 17 years old in New York City, along with Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. This is her testimony. Question: do you recall if anybody was at Jeffrey's home when you arrived? Answer: yes. When I first walked into the door, it was just myself and Ghislaine, headed for the staircase, and she told me to come up to the living room. Question: what happened at that point when you came up to the living room? I came up and saw Virginia, Jeffrey, Prince Andrew, and Ghislaine in the room. And did you meet Prince Andrew at that time? Yes. At Epstein's New York home, there was this Prince Andrew puppet, apparently from a BBC production. Maxwell brought it down for Prince Andrew, and either Maxwell or Epstein took a scandalous photo of Prince Andrew with the girls. They put the puppet on Virginia's laps, and I sat on Andrew's lap, and they put the puppet hand on Virginia's breast, and Andrew put his hand on my breast, and they took a photo. More disturbing allegations against Prince Andrew came directly from Virginia Giuffre. Please name a person that Ghislaine Maxwell directed you to have sex with. Answer: Prince Andrew. And now you know why they wanted that story squashed on ABC, they being the royal family, according to Amy Robach. Another name was Glenn Dubin. Giuffre also alleged that she was directed to have sex with Epstein friend and billionaire and then hedge fund manager Glenn Dubin. Okay, well, I need you to... This is the question. Okay, well, I need you to say a time when Ghislaine Maxwell directed you to have sex with another person. So can you please tell me to whom Ghislaine Maxwell asked you to have sex with another person? Mr. Edwards objected to the form, and then Virginia answered, said Glenn Dubin. Dubin's ties to Epstein have been previously reported. Back in 2009, after Epstein was given his sweetheart plea deal from the Department of Justice, the Dubins hosted Epstein for Thanksgiving dinner, telling his probation officer they were 100% comfortable with him being around their teenage daughter. Yikes. Would you be comfortable with Jeffrey Epstein around your teenage daughter? 100% comfortable? 100% comfortable. Tom Pritzker was another name mentioned. And he's actually related to J.B. Pritzker. Tom Pritzker is a billionaire businessman serving as executive chairman of Hyatt Hotels and as a chairman and CEO of the Pritzker Organization. He's also a member of the Aspen Institute. Oh, the illustrious Aspen Institute. Yes. Giuffre alleged she slept with him once. If I were to ask the question, how many times have you had sex with Tom Pritzker? Do you know what that question means? Answer: I believe so. All right. And what is the answer to that question? I believe I was with Tom once. I mean, these documents are gross. David Copperfield. Magician David Copperfield also emerged in the latest Epstein release. While there are no sex-related allegations against Copperfield at this time, it's clear from witness testimony that he was friends with Epstein and had at least some knowledge of what was going on at Epstein's home. Perhaps he had been informed by Epstein or Maxwell that he had a recruiting process where girls were paid to find other girls, according to Johanna Schoberg. Have you ever met David Copperfield? Answer: yes. Can you tell me when that was? Sure. Someone called me from the house, said he would be there, and if I wanted to come have dinner, then I could meet him. Did Copperfield ever discuss Jeffrey's involvement with young girls with you? He questioned me. Answer: he questioned me if I was aware that girls were getting paid to find other girls. So he knew what was going on. Michael Jackson is also mentioned in these documents. And, there's supposedly more coming. Doe 107 was not named. Doe 107 was one of the people that were holding up the documents. I don't know if there was a client, a friend, or a victim. But Doe 107 was not named. But they say more is coming. And I think we need a lot more, including from the FBI. Because they're sitting on a trove of evidence. A trove of evidence. And it's wild to me. You know, the same guys that sat on the laptop for years are now sitting on videos and photos from Epstein's homes that could either incriminate or exonerate a lot of people. Pretty weird. The FBI has a history of this, dating all the way back to J. Edgar Hoover. Blackmail is the name of the game. And now they own some of the most expensive blackmail files, I would imagine, in the world. And they have it. They have it all. Somebody said, I got a text from 8620. Epstein's not the most prolific pedophile in history. Names like Genghis Khan come to mind. All right.
First time texter.
First time texter. So, don't drop the ball on Genghis Khan. All right.
Oh, name some others too.
Yeah, I don't want to go down the. Like, I suppose they're just talking about, like, I don't have to apologize for what super texters say.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Like, this is why we need the Super Text Uncensored podcast. Are they done with the podcast studio yet?
No. That was jokes.
I mean, I would read. I don't care what this guy said. Like, I don't think it's like anything too crazy.
No. But I see what you're saying.
There's things that I don't want to have to apologize for later. So, yeah, Ray just made the same comment about other famous pedophiles. So, this guy's long dead. So, I'm not going down that rabbit hole. It's like, who are you talking about? All right. Well, moving on. We do have a lot more to get to. It's not just going to be an Epstein show. In fact, there was a lot happening at the border yesterday. And, you know, Mike Johnson, a lot of Republicans are down there. It's amazing to me that they cleaned up the how should I put this? The illegal alien corral in Eagle Pass, you know, where they were basically corralling them all. It looked like a music festival with the orange rubber fencing. You know that? What's the technical name for that? Do you know? Like put the stakes in the ground and it's like the orange rubber.
Yeah, no, I know what you're talking about.
Stupid fake fencing.
We'll get a super text here soon.
Somebody will tell me what it is. I don't think rubber stupid fake fencing is the correct term. But it's amazing though, because the photos from yesterday, there's nobody there. But the photos from just a bunch of people, a bunch of days ago, there's tons of people there, tons. And it blows my mind that all of this stuff can be cleaned up whenever Republicans go to visit. Or when Joe Biden goes to visit a border town, they can clean all this stuff up. Or when Xi Jinping goes to San Francisco, they can clean up all the homeless. They can clean all this up in a matter of hours, right? But they just don't do it. They don't take care of it unless they're worried about optics. People are saying safety fence or temporary barrier.
Seeing snow fence from a couple people as well.
Fact checks that.
Okay. Fact check snow. I'm on it.
Fact check snow. I prefer fake rubber fence. Stupid fake rubber fence.
Yeah, that's it. Stupid fake rubber fence.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with that. It's 9:51 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Still following the active shooter report out of Iowa. This is at Perry High School. They're about 45 minutes outside of Des Moines. More Epstein documents to be released today. Mandatory masking at some hospitals because of respiratory illnesses. We'll tell you about it at 10 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
9:53 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. You're always welcome to be a part of the show. We got Mac Morey producing, Ken Weaver in the newsroom, but the most important member of our crew is you on the Super Text line and the phone line, 615-737-9986. Me and Mac were just talking off the air. We love how if we can't come up with something, like if I can't think of something, like I will never pretend to know everything. I just won't. I don't think anybody knows everything. But there's all sorts of dumb stuff that I don't know. Like, I don't know what that stupid fake fencing is called. So I just call it stupid rubber fake fence. And you guys know what I'm talking about because it's the orange stupid rubber fake fence. And you guys all chime in on the Super Text line. Apparently there's a bunch of names. Barrier fencing, temporary barrier. 2630 texted in, said snow fences exist. Ray said it's a useless fence. And Brian said, I'm going to buy some of the stupid fake rubber fence just so I can sell it on eBay under the description of stupid fake rubber fence. Barrier fencing, says Jesse. All right. I don't want to spend the whole day on fencing. But down at the border, they had all this stupid fake rubber fencing to hang to hold back the illegal aliens in this processing area. And Mike Johnson and other Republicans went down there to the border yesterday. And that area where it had previously been occupied by thousands of illegal aliens was just empty. And it's weird. It's weird how they can clean all of that up whenever anybody of any importance comes. Isn't that strange? They can pretend like, nothing's happening. When Joe Biden goes to visit the border, they clean it all up. When Xi Jinping comes to San Francisco, they clean it all up. And they'll do that for optics, but they don't do that for the citizens that live there every single day. One of the things that made me so mad about San Francisco and them cleaning that up in a matter of moments for the president of China, Gavin Newsom's boss, Joe Biden's boss, it's like you have kids that live there every day and you don't clean it up and you just don't care. You care about the optics. And it drives me bananas. And there's so many different ways that they could fix the border, but they don't. They do optics when the GOP is down there. It's crazy to me. It is. And then you have states like Texas who decide to take matters into their own hand and make it a state crime for illegal border entry. And I say good on Texas. It is now a state crime in Texas to cross the border illegally. But now we find that President Biden's Department of Justice has filed a lawsuit yesterday against the state of Texas to stop state officials from having illegal aliens arrested and deported. Is the Biden administration doing anything other than actively trying to facilitate an invasion at this point? I mean, let's look at this. So last month, Greg Abbott signed 3 pieces of legislation into law. It gave state law enforcement the power to arrest illegal aliens for the crime of illegally crossing the United States-Mexico border and gave local judges authority to have these illegal aliens deported. Now, the DOJ is suing them to stop that. The DOJ also sued them to remove the razor wire barriers, the buoys in the Rio Grande. The Department of Justice under Biden also ordered Arizona to remove their shipping container wall. And then they'll tell you with a straight face, we're doing everything we can to fix this immigration system. It's a joke. It is an absolute joke. And while Speaker Johnson is down there yesterday, you can look during his press conference and illegal aliens are crossing the Rio Grande while he's giving his press conference. So even though they have cleaned up this holding area when the GOP comes down to visit, they still can't stop the flow. It's insane. And on Wednesday, Associate Attorney General Vanita Gupta announced that the DOJ has filed a lawsuit against Texas, citing the U.S. Constitution's Supremacy Clause and Foreign Commerce Clause as evidence that the policies are unconstitutional. SB 4 is clearly unconstitutional, Gupta said in a statement. Under the Supremacy Clause of the Constitution and longstanding Supreme Court precedent, states cannot adopt immigration laws that interfere with the framework enacted by Congress. The Justice Department will continue to fill its responsibility to uphold the Constitution and enforce federal law. I'm sorry. I was under the impression that you guys weren't upholding the Constitution or enforcing federal law. Did I miss something? Maybe I'll do a little more research during the break. Is there any examples of them upholding the Constitution and enforcing federal law in recent memory when it comes to the border? I don't see any examples of that. The DOJ is requesting that a federal judge declare the policies unconstitutional and therefore unenforceable by Texas officials. This isn't going to end well. It's not. It's 10 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Ten o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast in 2 minutes and the breaking news out of Iowa, where an active shooter reported at Perry High School. This is just 45 miles outside of Des Moines. Kendall Ross is outside.
There are parents. There seem to be, some younger people, possibly students outside as well. Still no concrete details from law enforcement. The Iowa National Guard is actually situated right next to the high school, and so we are waiting patiently to see is this still ongoing or what details we can uncover.
Reporter Megan McPherson from ABC Des Moines affiliate WOI spoke with a parent outside the school.
He is sharing text messages between him and his son, a sophomore here at Perry High School, who says he was grazed by a bullet. This was actually before school was set to start this morning. He says that his son comes into school early and was here early. Of course, this being the first day of the semester after the winter break for these students here at Perry High School.
The shooting triggering a lockdown at Perry City Hall, where school district offices are located. More documents expected to be made public today connected to the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. It follows release yesterday of the first batch of sealed court papers, including names like former President Bill Clinton, who was not accused of wrongdoing, and a return to mandatory masking in some spots across the U.S., at least at the hospital. Some hospitals in at least 9 states now requiring people to wear masks due to the increase of respiratory illnesses.
Some hospitals from coast to coast taking that step given the rise in respiratory illnesses like flu, RSV, and COVID-19. 31 states and Washington, D.C. now reporting high or very high respiratory activity. When it comes to COVID-19, hospitalizations have been climbing for the past 7 weeks, with 30,000 new admissions in just the past week alone.
Ariel Reshef reporting the CDC says COVID-19's been rising in Tennessee since October, but doctors at Vanderbilt and Ascension say it's nothing like 2020 and 2021. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
10:04 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Find me on Twitter, Instagram, True Social, at Chris Hand on air. Hit the follow button. I will follow back. And make sure you take us wherever you go all day long with the TuneIn app, the iHeartRadio app, or my personal favorite, the 99.7 WTN app. Available in the Google Play and Apple app stores. Free to download. Big story of the day is the Epstein client list. And Bill in Etheridge has a comment on the Epstein list. Bill, you're next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Oh, Bill hung up. Bill, I was just getting to you, man. Sorry, bro. He wasn't on hold that long. It's like a couple minutes. Sorry, Bill. Call back. I do want to also talk about what's happening down at the border. Mike Johnson was down there, along with a bunch of other Republicans, and you know, they cleaned up the area just in time for the Republicans to show up. And I've gotten a couple of texts, including our friend John, who all say, great, we've finally found a way representatives can truly serve and be valuable. Let's have them all stay on the border with cameras to stop the illegal aliens invasion. That would be helpful. That's one way to do it, apparently. 1509 says, when is Texas going to finally secede from the Union? I bet it's crossed some minds. I'm sure. I mean, when they're trying to do everything they can to stop the invasion, and then they're being sued by the Biden Justice Department for trying to stop the invasion, it has to cross their minds, right? It has to. If you missed it, the Biden DOJ is suing Texas because Texas made it a state crime to cross into the country illegally into Texas, and also gave local judges the authority to have illegal aliens deported. So the Biden DOJ can't have that, and they are now going to be suing the state of Texas. It's amazing, right? Mayor Eric Adams is actually happy, pleased, if you will, that the DOJ is suing to block the Texas immigration law, and says that Abbott is trying to hurt cities and needs to be sent a loud message. That's Mayor Eric Adams out of New York. It's crazy to me, though. He says Abbott is trying to hurt cities, but the federal government is trying to hurt Texas. The federal government is trying to hurt the country by enabling this illegal invasion on the southern border. Every single day, they're enabling it. It's crazy to me. Governor Abbott responded to those comments from Mayor Eric Adams last night on Hannity and had this to say.
They won't do their job. You're trying to do their job for you, and now they want to stop you from doing their job. If I picked up people at the border and I took them to another state, would I be arrested and convicted?
Well, you got to do it in a way so that it does not turn into kidnapping. And Texas is doing it in a very legal way. When we send people to New York, to Washington, D.C., to Chicago, to L.A., to Denver, to wherever they're going to, it's done by the letter of the law to make sure that nothing is wrong. However, what we have found is the hypocrisy of the mayor of New York, of the mayor of Chicago, of the mayor of Denver, and of California, things like that, where they say, oh, we want to be a sanctuary city. We want to provide all these free benefits to migrants, but then they start complaining when Texas starts dropping them off into their states or into their communities. Listen, this is a responsibility caused by the Joe Biden administration. And these Democrat mayors, they need to wake up to the reality that their communities are going to continue to face challenges, including more buses and planes, unless and until Joe Biden starts enforcing the immigration laws of the United States.
And he could enforce it very quickly. There are laws on the books that would fix this. He could, with a stroke of a pen, an executive order, reinstate the Remain in Mexico policy. He could end catch and release. There's so much that he could do, but they refuse to do it. Instead, they're using our resources, our tax dollars, when we're $34 trillion in debt, to sue the state of Texas to stop them from doing what needs to be done. Don in Spring Hill, you're next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. What's up, Don?
Excuse me. I was just going to comment. I was watching a news report, and they had all the officials gathered together and they were being asked questions. If you look in the background of that report, it was pretty clever that there was a single family crossing the river, and one of their young kids looked up at the camera and waved. I just got a kick out of it. I thought it said a lot, actually, if you think about it.
Well, and the cartels are probably pretty smart. They did that for the optics. Let's send one single family across while this is going on instead of, the hordes of war-fighting aged males.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I'm not a Democratic fan for sure, but I blame this on both parties. This is so ridiculous. We are the laughing stock of the world, and I'm embarrassed to even talk about it, to be honest with you, in a crowd.
I mean, there's definitely
ridiculous.
There's definitely blame to go around for both parties. But when you look at what Trump had done on the border versus what Biden's doing on the border, it's night and day.
Oh, yeah, I give Trump all the credit, but he's been gone now a long time. We have senators and House officials. They do a lot of lip service with you guys, but they're not doing nothing, and they could. I will say this. They are finally saying enough, and they're not going to give these guys the money they want for the wars, which I would support the wars, but you know what? Let's support America first.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that anyone can really support the wars while we have so much going on at home. I mean, the problems that we have at home are mounting every day. $34 trillion in debt, an illegal invasion at the southern border, and that's before we get into the issue of drug overdoses and homelessness and how we're treating our veterans in this country. There's so much that we can do at home, and we need to put our oxygen mask on first before we fix the world's problems.
Absolutely. I hope some of our elected officials are listening to this. We're talking about all of them, not just the Democrats. I mean, they are in control, but this needs to be fixed one way or another.
I'm with you, Don. Thanks for the call. I really appreciate it. Speaker Johnson yesterday down at the border had the question that is on everybody's mind. It's, where is Joe Biden?
Speaker Johnson, has President Joe Biden gotten involved in any talks with you, for example, or any of your lieutenants to solve this open border catastrophe?
No, this is intentional. These are policy choices that got us into this situation, Larry. We passed H.R. 2 7 months ago. Our legislation, the Secure the Border Act, does exactly what is necessary to stem the flow and get on top of this crisis. It would restore the Remain in Mexico policy that worked so well under the Trump administration, end catch and release. It would rebuild the wall, finish building the border wall. This is an important deterrent. And importantly, it would do the things that we know can be done. The president doesn't even need new federal laws. He needs to enforce the ones that are on the books. He could do much of this by executive order, but he refuses to do it. And if we would make these simple changes, we could solve this problem. But right now, it's completely out of control.
Yep, it is completely out of control. We're witnessing an invasion. And we're also witnessing the Biden administration do things like water down vetting of Chinese illegal aliens. Oh, weird. So strange. When the Chinese show up, they used to have to answer around 20 questions. Now they have to answer around 5. This is the Biden administration. They're aiding and abetting. Speaker Johnson said, this is a disaster of the president's own design. He was with a group of 64 other Republicans yesterday in Eagle Pass, receiving a security briefing. I mean, do they really need to receive a security briefing? Is it probably like 2 words? It's bad. It's bad. Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you. Speaker Johnson said last month alone we saw the most illegal border crossings in recorded history. It's an unmitigated disaster. It's a disaster of the president's own design. And there's no other way around it. I mean, again, he's suing Texas to remove the razor wire. He's suing Texas to remove the buoys. They sued Arizona to remove the cargo shipping container impromptu wall that they had. They're not doing anything to actually fix this issue. Johnson, again, laid the blame of the border crisis directly at the feet of Joe Biden. Said some of the first actions that Joe Biden took when he rolled into the Oval Office were that he rolled back border security measures that were put in place under the Trump administration. Remember, it was his first day in office that Biden stopped construction of the southern border wall and ended the Remain in Mexico policy. 312 migrants. And this drives me nuts. They're illegal aliens. But again, the left does such a good job at manipulating language that even news sources that are conservative, like Breitbart, falls for the trap. 312 illegal aliens on the FBI terror watch list have entered the country under this current administration's watch. Johnson described the current situation as unsustainable without immediate policy changes, including, like you heard, the reinstitution of the Remain in Mexico policy, the ending of catch and release. Something needs to be done. Something needs to be done fast, because we are not going to be able to handle this. And even if you're, we can all argue the benefits of immigration, but legal immigration, you still need it at a pace where people can assimilate. That was always the thing. Oh, America's the melting pot. Well, but the point was that people were coming here to be Americans and assimilate into our culture. You're not going to be able to do that at the tune of $300,000 a month. You're just not. And if it goes on much longer, the country's not going to look the same. You could argue it doesn't look the same anymore anyway. Governor Abbott said Mayorkas is pathetic. Mayorkas was on MSNBC blaming the record-shattering December illegal alien apprehensions on climate change. And Abbott said, the real reason illegal immigration records are being set is because Biden refuses to enforce immigration law. But Mayorkas literally blamed it on climate change. Climate change. It's climate change. That's what he said on the record number of illegal aliens in December.
Border Patrol in the month of December processed more migrants entering the United States illegally than any month in the history of that agency. Why is that happening? How do you explain it?
So we are seeing the greatest number of displaced people, not only at our southern border, not only in the Western Hemisphere, but across the globe. You know, I am involved in bilateral and multilateral meetings with my counterparts from foreign countries in Europe, in Asia, in the Indo-Pacific, all over the world. And migration, the challenge of displaced people, is a subject that comes up in every single conversation. We have the effects of climate change.
No, climate change. It's climate change.
Poverty, increasing level of authoritarianism.
It's climate change. Stephen Spring Hill, you're next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. How do we fix climate change to fix the border, Steve?
One, I don't believe in climate change. Two, until the administrations follow the laws that they've signed into law from the Congress and quit having their agencies interpret to give them regulations and rules to follow that they can move like yo-yos, nothing's going to happen. So as far as Representative Green and the Speaker of the House, nothing's going to happen until they write concrete laws without ambiguous verbal and vocal vocabulary.
No, man, I hear you. I appreciate the call. Thanks, Steve. Something needs to be done. You know, but I will say this. Some mainstream media outlets are starting to take Mayorkas to task. CBS's Tony DeCoupel, is that how you say his name? Tony DeCoupel? He called out the DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas this morning over the record-breaking border crisis.
Because of the standards at the border and the flow issue that Republicans have identified, Democratic leaders, mayors, governors, they're struggling. Governor Abbott in Texas is busing people to different states. They're showing up on doorsteps. They're in the streets. They can't work. They're hungry. They're begging. It's a big, big problem. What is the White House willing to do to come to the aid of your fellow Democrats who say, we need help?
So a few things. Number one, we have sought and received some funding from Congress to assist mayors and governors in addressing the migration challenge. But let me ask you a question. Do you think it is responsible governance for one governor to refuse to coordinate, communicate, cooperate with other state officials around the country and just unilaterally bus people to another locality without informing the receiving locality?
This guy is so full of it. Do you think it's responsible for the federal government to get in Texas's way every opportunity they have to stop the flow of this illegal invasion?
So that we can work together to address a challenge that our country faces? Is that the type of patriotism and governance that we expect of our officials?
It's patriotism. It's patriotism. Is it patriotic to leave our borders wide open, sir?
I think that both parties are playing games and have been for decades on this issue, and you're not talking about the fundamental point of contradiction. The Republicans want a stop to the flow with very specific ideas. You're not even talking about those ideas this morning, and so both sides are playing politics as they have been for a very long time.
I think the important point there is he says right to his face, Republicans want to stop to the flow with very specific ideas. And you're not even talking about those ideas. That's the Biden administration for you. That's Alejandro Mayorkas. Let's speed up that impeachment process. It's 10:21 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, Glenn, Dean, Jeff, hang on the line, guys. We got your calls next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Iowa school shooting. At least one person is dead. More Jeffrey Epstein documents to be released today, and the rise in respiratory illnesses in Tennessee and elsewhere. All this and more at 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN, 1025. My name is Chris Hand. We're talking about the issues on the border. Glenn in Franklin, what's your take, my man? You're next on Super Talk.
Well, I want to say thank you so much for the conservative truth that you guys give. Continue on. Hopefully God keeps on blessing you and growing you. We really appreciate it. Throughout our whole country, you conservative radio stations need to keep on spreading the word. So, again, Happy New Year and blessings to you. 2 points. I only have 2 points on this whole situation. Number one, American citizens of this country need to wake up and use common sense and not political agenda to make this country great again, for one. Two, the biblical scripture of this is that if God's people would pray, he will hear our prayers and heal our land. So this is a call out to every Christian out there, people that are concerned about our country, this nation, this great nation founded upon biblical principles of freedom, constitutional rights. Please, bow a knee, start praying for our country, even for our politicians, that God's wisdom and knowledge might empower them to see the right way and follow constitutional biblical principles for this country. Again, thank you so much for what y'all do. My prayers, blessings, and hopes for this country to be better. Hopefully this coming election will make that all true, and we'll return back to a godly, common sense national country that we as young people, when I grew up in the 50s and 60s, will return to make it a great country. Thank you so much. Blessings upon you.
Amen, Glenn. I appreciate it, man. I couldn't say it much better myself. Dean, you're in Burns, Tennessee. You got a border story. You're next on Super Talk 99.7. What's up, man?
Man, I've been watching all this stuff on TV, and we not being there, we don't know how bad it is, by just seeing it on TV. But my wife and I drove up to Kentucky and visited Noah's Ark.
Okay.
They have a life size. I mean, it's the original Ark built back up there. These people did, and
yeah, me and my wife want to take the kids there. It looks pretty cool.
It is awesome. The downside is it was like we drove into Mexico.
Jeez.
I have never in my life seen anything like it. There was, hundreds and hundreds of people there. And I guarantee you it was close to 50-50 Hispanics.
Interesting.
They were absolutely everyone. My wife's not political or anything, but she was concerned. She goes, "Oh my gosh, where are these people coming from?" I said, "Watson, that's what I tell you." And you talk about an eye opener.
Yeah, we're at the point on the border, and I appreciate your call, Dean. We're at the point on the border where every town is a border town. Every state is a border state. Jeff in Lebanon, you're next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. What's up, Jeff?
Hey, man. So in the case of the Biden DOJ suing the state of Texas, is Texas not already just enforcing the existing federal border laws?
So the federal government enforces federal border law. What Texas did was put new laws on the books, signed 3 pieces of legislation into law that included giving state law enforcement the power to arrest illegal aliens for the crime of illegally crossing the United States-Mexico border. And it also gave local Texas judges the authority to have illegal aliens deported. And what the DOJ is doing is suing them to have that kind of wiped off the books.
Okay. I got you.
Yeah.
It just, I figured that was just the law of the land nationwide. You can't come into our country illegally,
Well, it is, but it's a federal crime, so the federal government has to enforce it. But as you can see, or anybody paying attention can see, the enforcement has been lax at best.
Yeah, they're not the best at it.
No. They enforce that crime usually by saying, "Hey, where do you want to go? Let me get you a plane ticket and a cell phone, and we'll get you a nice hotel room."
Yeah, I'd say that's unprecedented in the history of our country. Just allowing people come over like that,
Yeah, unprecedented is an understatement, Jeff. I appreciate your call, man. There's so much more to get to, and Alejandro Mayorkas was all over CBS this morning getting grilled, quite frankly. And I have more of that audio for you after the news with Ken Weaver, which happens right now on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.30 on the dot this Thursday morning. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast in 2 minutes. Right now in Iowa, law enforcement say there are multiple gunshot victims about 45 miles outside of Des Moines. Police got the call right before classes started this morning.
Units, we've got an active shooter situation at Perry High School. We need you en route.
That is from Broadcastify.com. At least one person confirmed dead. Reports say it is the shooter. No further danger to the public there in Perry, Iowa. More documents are expected to come out later today connected to the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The first batch yesterday included names like former President Bill Clinton, who was not accused of wrongdoing. Legal experts don't expect charges against any of the people whose names might come out. A rise in respiratory illnesses leading to the return of mandatory masking in hospitals in at least 9 states. Tennessee is among 31 states and the District of Columbia in the high to very high category of respiratory illness outbreak, according to the CDC. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. I recently did a workshop talking about some of the missteps of the investing industry, some of the biggest mutual fund companies out there. You probably recognize these names: Fidelity, Vanguard, Raymond James, Edward Jones, actually using data and information from their own websites as I walk through this. Now, one of the things I was talking about is diversification and how investors could be in for a rude awakening at the amount of risk that they actually have in their portfolios, and they don't even realize it. Now, the example I like to use to help people understand why why do these huge companies do this? I mean, these are big companies. And you go, well, why? Well, think about the diet industry. In the diet industry, you had things like this: fat-free this, fat-free that, fat-free that. And what happened is they did a study. They were looking at diabetes in children. And what they found was that when they went fat-free, they actually ended up with more diabetes rather than less, because what they substituted for fat was sugar. Now, what happens in the mutual fund industry, they tend to keep costs low by investing in very narrow areas of the market that are inexpensive to manage. So what happens is the investor ends up with more risk than they think that they've got. Now, why do they do that? Because
they're going to try to impeach you in the House.
By low
they say
costs.
you're doing
now,
this intentionally and that you're a liar.
These big mutual fund companies, it just means...
I don't have time for words like that. We are focused here on solutions. I lead a department of 260,000 incredibly talented public servants, men and women who work at great sacrifice to secure the border, combat human trafficking, protect our country from cybersecurity attacks, so much more. This is the work that we do to ensure the safety and security of the American public. I don't have time for politics. We're focused on solutions.
Oh, I don't have time for politics. Ooh. Alejandro Mayorkas on CBS. When asked, they're going to try and impeach you, and they say you're doing this intentionally and that you're a liar. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Alejandro Mayorkas was getting grilled on CBS this morning, and I say good. It's about time that we see somebody in the Mockingbird media actually hold this guy accountable, that the White House is doing this intentionally. The federal government is facilitating this intentionally. And, you know, Alejandro Mayorkas just goes on there and lies.
Mr. Secretary, I mean, respectfully, yes, there is a global migration crisis, but the President of the United States also, as a candidate, said, come to the U.S. if you want to claim asylum, restore the dignity of that process. That was his position. And so people are coming. The numbers have gone up tremendously, and nothing in the White House's plan addresses what Republicans are saying is so important. Catch and release, a phrase you hear. What that means is people come across the border, they claim asylum, and then they're allowed to stay in this country for years while they wait for that process to play out. Years and years and years. People know that's the game. They know the bar for asylum is low. The claim bar is low. And so they come. Are you doing anything? Are you willing to do anything to stop the flow in that way?
Allow me to finish my answer. On the first day in office, President Biden sent a legislative proposal to Congress to fix what everyone agrees is a broken immigration system.
Actually, on the first day, he ended the Remain in Mexico policy.
I have dealt with the immigration system first as a prosecutor in the 1990s and then as an administrator beginning in 2009. And the years-long process that you describe has been a problem in the immigration system ever since I've worked in it. And everyone agrees that the system is broken. And what we are doing is enforcing our laws.
Well, you know, I guess maybe, but not really. What they do need to do is reinstate the policies that were effective under Trump, like Remain in Mexico and catch and release. You know, I guess they're enforcing catch and release. They're fine with catch and release. It's insane. This guy will come out and just tell everybody we're doing everything we can. We're doing good. But anybody with eyes can see that what's happening is an invasion. It's an invasion. And the Biden administration is doing anything they can to stop Texas and the border states and conservative areas from doing what needs to be done on the border. As we see with Biden's DOJ suing to stop Texas from arresting and deporting illegal aliens. Speaker Johnson was down there yesterday. It's a disaster of the president's own design. And it is. We had the caller mention a little while ago, and it's true. While Mike Johnson was giving his presser, you know, we had border crossers yards away. Yards away. The caller made the interesting point, which I had missed, but he was right on the money, that the ones crossing were a family. And if that isn't optics politics, I don't know what is. Because, you know, when you see the videos from down on the border and you hear the audio from down on the border, it's, you know, Chinese nationals, war-fighting age men. It's Middle Easterners that are all men.
Hola, ¿de dónde son? Mexico? Where are you from? Egypt. Holy cow, don't listen to him. Egypt, huh? Okay, where in America? New York, or Cairo? Are you going to New York or Chicago? Boston? Boston, okay. Egypt? Yes. Okay, far from Egypt to here, long journey. How many days? Today? Today, yeah. Today, you got here today. All right. Well, thank you. All men, though. No family, no wives, kids? No, all by yourself.
No, all by yourself. Yet yesterday, as Mike Johnson is giving his presser, there's illegal border crossers coming across the river, and it's a single family. That's optics politics. They're focusing on the optics. Oh, we're just looking for a better life. Maybe you are. That's fine. I understand. I do. But as a country, we cannot handle this level of illegal immigration. Mayorkas was asked on CBS a little while ago, do you support changes to the law to reduce the flow?
You're talking to senators in the White House about a bill on that side of the chamber. The House has already passed something. So what I'm really asking you here is, would you change the law? Do you support changes to the law to reduce the flow? And I'll give you specifics that Republicans want on the table. They want the standard for allowing a person to come across the border in between ports of entry, illegally is the word for it, and wait here. They want that standard to be higher. Right now, it's just credible fear. They want it to be more likely than not you'd be allowed to stay. I think you know the reality is most people who cross the border and claim asylum, the vast majority do not actually receive asylum. And then they're just here. So will you change the standard at the border as a matter of law?
Before we get to Mayorkas' answer, I do want to once again give credit to CBS for actually pushing back and giving Mayorkas hard questions.
There are bipartisan negotiations ongoing now. Republican and Democratic senators are at the table to discuss how the broken immigration system should be fixed. I am privileged to be a part of those discussions and provide technical and operational advice to those senators who are focused on solutions. This is all about solutions, not making the problem worse by taking away the funding that our public servants rely on to do their work in the service of the American public.
So the question was, will you change the standard for asylum at the border and raise it higher than credible fear? And Mayorkas' answer was dancing around the question. Do we expect anything less? I mean, what an absolute joke Mayorkas is. And to be fair, it's not just Mayorkas. And a lot of people make the comment, this is a problem from both sides. And they're right. This clip of Nikki Haley talking about illegal aliens has been going viral. This is her from 2015. It was going viral last night. People were, and at the risk of sounding like a simp for Nikki Haley, which I don't want to, you know what I mean? I don't ever want to be confused as a simp for Nikki Haley. It's going viral last night on the socials, and this clip is from 2015, but it's indicative to her thoughts on illegal aliens, and it really highlights the fact that it's a problem on both sides. And some Republicans are just as guilty for this problem as others, but this is Nikki Haley on illegal aliens.
But let's keep in mind, these people that are wanting to come here, they want to come for a better life too. They have kids too. They have a heart too. So we don't need to be disrespectful. We don't need to talk about them as criminals. They're not. They're families that want a better life, and they're desperate to get here.
Oh, we don't need to be disrespectful. They're families. They want a better life. Okay, come the legal way. Do it the right way. And to her point, maybe, and again, at the risk of sounding like a simp for Nikki Haley, and we all know my feelings on Nikki Haley, not exactly the biggest fan. Maybe her opinion has changed since 2015. Maybe the political climate was a little bit different in 2015. I mean, we were still talking DACA and stuff in 2015, right? Like the Dreamers. So maybe she was doing what she does, which is just be an absolute political hack and put her finger in the air and see which way the wind is blowing before she makes her statement. So maybe she's changed her opinion since then. But when you see this, it says they're families. They're families. It's like, okay, are there families down at the border?
All right. Well, thank you. All men, though. No family, no wives, kids. No, all by yourself. One wife. Wife. No kids.
Yeah, no kids. No kids. Just Middle Eastern men. It's not even Hispanics alone anymore sneaking across. The entire world knows that the easiest way to get into this country is through the southern border. I'll get the jokes that I'm Canadian. I have a good friend in Canada, and I've made the joke to him. He wants to move to America because Canada's Canada, and I've made the joke to him. Just come to the southern border and walk across. You get a free cell phone. So you know what I mean? It's like, you're probably right. It's probably the easiest way to go. But Nikki Haley, I mean, what a hack. It reminded me of what Steve Bannon said about her the other day. He called her a viper when talking about the fact that she's kind of angling for the vice presidential nominee.
One of the fights we're going to have, a big fight, will take place in the spring, will be they're going to try to force Nikki on the ticket. They say Trump needs a woman, Nikki on the ticket. She balances things, and she can bring together that 15% of never-Trumpers in the Republican Party. We're going to have that fight. If Nikki Haley is in this administration in any capacity, it will fail. Well, she's a viper. She's a viper, and once she gets in there, she'll try to run it as prime minister. She'll try to be Dick Cheney.
Dick Cheney in heels, as Vivek Ramaswamy said. And Nikki Haley does want to be VP, and I don't want anything to do with that. He made the point that the never Trumpers and some people in the Republican Party will say Trump needs a woman to balance the ticket. I think that is just a joke of logic in the conservative movement. If we look at the conservative movement on a whole, do we really need a woman to balance out the ticket? Do we? I mean, I thought as a party we were more about meritocracy and getting the right person for the right job. You know, when you hire based on gender and skin color, you get the president of Harvard. That's what you'll find. Making a decision to put someone on the ticket because they're a woman, that's such a Democrat talking point that I think it's a logical fallacy when it comes to the conservative movement. Maybe that's just me. Cindy, you have a comment on the border. You're next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. What's up, Cindy?
Good morning. I love y'all's show. This is first time calling. I work at a convenience store, and I had a gentleman come in with a cane and his legs all black and blue, and I asked what happened. He said that he was a sheriff. He pulled over a car full of 8 Mexicans, and they started shooting them. So they are coming over here. They're being criminals. And she says, oh, they're not criminals. Yes. That right there just shows that they're coming over here and being disrespectful for law enforcement. And, you know, I mean, it's ridiculous. It really is.
Yeah, I mean, we have enough Americans that are disrespectful to law enforcement. We don't need anybody else that's going to come over here and be disrespectful to law enforcement. I appreciate your call, Cindy. Did you see the video of the guy that jumped over the judge table? Did you see that?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
That was nuts.
Not a Mexican, just an American.
Whew.
So, I mean, we got enough of that. We don't need any more.
I think that guy's got a contract for Sundays though coming his way. I mean, that was a good tackle.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
About 8 to 10, maybe.
Golly.
I mean, but
it's because the judge didn't
give him probation.
Yeah, yep, that was it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
And the weak dudes around him couldn't protect her. Like at all. If you didn't see that video, you should go to my Twitter account at Chris Hand on Air. I retweeted it. This guy he wants probation. And the judge says, I can't give you probation with your criminal history. And he goes, oh, nah, bleep that, bleep. And then he dives over the judge's table and tackles her and starts throwing haymakers. Emma in Smyrna, you're next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. You got a comment on the border, Emma?
Yeah, I was actually commenting back to the last lady. I work security at a local Walmart. And
that's probably one of the most dangerous jobs in America right now. Security at a local Walmart. Yikes.
I had these guys asking if they could spend the night, and I told them, like, nobody's allowed to stay overnight. That's their policy. But they had about 20 cars locked together and chained together. Some of them did drive, some of them didn't. So I was curious, and I asked them, like, hey, where did y'all get these cars at auction? And they eventually told me that, yes, somebody buys trucks and cars from the auction. They tie them together and they drive them all the way back to Mexico with, like, no tags or anything. And this happens all the time, and the cops don't do anything about it. And I see it more often in every city, like you said. It just kind of blew my mind that they were able to chain a bunch of cars together and ride them down the road like that.
That's crazy. That's crazy. And you said they wanted to stay at the Walmart overnight, like in the parking lot?
Yeah, like they had just picked up the cars and were wanting to spend the night in the parking lot. And actually, they were messing around with one of the trucks and end up catching his clothes on fire. So I had to get a fire extinguisher. It was crazy.
Oh, my gosh. That's insane. Thanks for the call. I appreciate it. In New Hampshire, Republicans are seeking to ban illegal aliens from driving in the state. Republican legislatures in New Hampshire are hoping to pass legislation that would invalidate driver's license issued to illegal aliens in other states, including neighboring Massachusetts. 8 Republican state senators and 2 state representatives have issued legislation that would ensure illegal aliens, even if they have driver's licenses from other states, are not eligible to drive in New Hampshire. The legislation reads, any person who holds a driver's license that is of a class of licenses issued by another state exclusively to undocumented immigrants who are unable to prove lawful presence in the United States when the licenses are issued. The driver license or other permit purporting to authorize the holder to operate a motor vehicle on public roadways is invalid in this state and does not authorize the holder to operate a motor vehicle in this state. I think that could be a good way for Tennessee to handle the illegal aliens in this state. Just a good way to book them, get them off the street, make that an arrestable offense. Can we do something like that? Do we know anybody that we can call? Maybe. I don't know. I'll ask Murphy. He's got a bug in all those guys' ears. Like, hey, Murphy, do me a favor.
We got to figure this out.
Yeah. Let's make some phone calls. Tony and Mark, I'll get to you guys' calls next. Hang out with us. It's 10:50 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand, and this is the Chris Hand Show. Hey, it's Chris Hand from my friends at Paul Winkler, Inc. I have a wonderful wife, 4 great kids, so you can imagine financial stability moving into the future is a big priority. I mean, we're thinking about hopefully paying for a couple weddings, maybe paying for college down the road if any of the kids want it. But how do you do that in this financial climate? How do you save? How do you get ready for the future? Well, I've been a listener of Paul Winkler's radio show since we moved to Nashville, and after meeting with him and realizing he's the same guy that I heard on the air, smart, honest, and legit, I knew exactly how I was going to do that. I was going to sign up with Paul and his team. Now, Paul and his team hold themselves to a higher level of fiduciary standard than is required. Because of that, I have to tell you I'm paid every time this commercial airs. That's the truth. But that's not why I'm a client of Paul's. I'm a client because when I finally got to sit down with Paul, break bread, and have my questions answered, I realized he's the same guy that I heard on the radio. Smart, honest, legit. I'm impressed with Paul. I decided to become a client myself because he's a smart guy. He knows the financial world better than I do. And with Paul and his team, nothing is done on commission. I'll say it again. I say it every time. Nothing is done on commission. So you can be sure the financial advice they have for you is for you and not for them because nothing is done on commission. They aren't motivated by their check. They're motivated by your financial future. So if you don't have a plan for your financial future, I highly suggest you link up with Paul and his team because one of the best things that they do is provide education. The investment education they give you is evidence-based and backed by Nobel Prize-winning research. For a guy like me who wasn't the most financially literate, I can honestly tell you that he will break it down in a way you can understand it. And you can feel the difference between Paul's team and the rest because every office is run by a degreed planner with over 20 years of experience. That experience will give you the confidence. So do what I did. Talk to one of his team members. Set up a complimentary 15-minute phone call on his website, paulwinkler.com. That's paulwinkler.com or call 615-851-1950.
Another deadly school shooting, more Jeffrey Epstein documents coming, respiratory illnesses on the rise. These stories at more at 11 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. A lot of people are calling in about what that brave woman who does security at a Walmart in Smyrna was talking about, border cars. All right, so let's go to Tony in Smyrna. Tony, Can you break down what this border car thing is for me?
Yeah. How you doing? First time I've called in since the last guy I talked to at WTN was Phil Valentine.
Oh man,
you're doing a good job.
Well,
you're
I appreciate that. I'm honored. So
he's a real pro.
Phil was the greatest.
Oh, no doubt. My wife is from Midland, Texas, way out almost to New Mexico.
Okay.
And driving from Dallas out to Midland, it's about a 5-hour stint there. And I know I saw 20 of these things. I've never seen anything like this before. It would be an old beat-up van or an old beat-up car pulling 3 other cars. And each one of them was pounded pretty badly. I didn't see any of them that wouldn't give an insurance adjuster a heart attack. And they all had Chihuahua license plates on the car that was towing. and there were no license tags on any of the other cars. And I know I
Chihuahua
saw
license plates? Is that like a thing, or is it just like a picture of a Chihuahua?
No, it was a license plate with Chihuahua, the state of Chihuahua in Mexico.
Oh, okay. All right.
It was Mexican license plates on the cars.
I'm picturing the Taco Bell dog or something.
Yeah, there you go. Yo quiero a new car.
Yeah. All right. So they're pulling them down the road, and it's just like one car is towing two other cars.
Three
other
cars. Yeah. And I've never seen anything like it in my life. We were joking, saying, I bet he had trouble parallel parking that baby.
Oh, my gosh, yeah. Yeah, pull in or keep going.
And it wasn't just one or two. I swear it was like 20.
That's insane. It's
unbelievable.
I've never heard of this, and apparently they're finding this in Smyrna, Tennessee now.
Well, actually, it was between Stephenville and Midland, Texas. But,
well, no, you're commenting that, but the caller before said that she saw it at the Walmart parking lot in Smyrna.
Get out of here, really?
Yeah.
Ay, caramba. Keep your powder dry, boys, and check your field of fire.
Jeez Louise, yeah. Hey, I appreciate the call, Tony. Thanks so much.
Keep it up, man.
Hey, thank you. I really do appreciate it, Tony. Let's go to Dave in Hendersonville, who has a comment on border cars. Dave, you're next on Super Talk. What are these border cars?
What's going on, Chris?
Hey, what's up, man?
Hey, I don't know much about the border cars, but I know you can get on Marketplace. There are car lots here in Tennessee, Madisonville, that are selling cars, and they're specifically targeting immigrants. They have on their ads, no license required. We've got a lot of immigrants that ain't never drove a car, that hasn't never drove a car before until they got over here. And they're buying cars, and they're driving on our streets, and they're putting everybody else at risk.
Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating. You know, in New Hampshire, they're passing a law where if you got a driver's license from a different state, that they're not going to recognize it if you don't have residency in the country. We need to do something like that.
They shouldn't. I mean, you know, I brought this up to Murphy, and actually sent him a screenshot of one of the ads that they have. It's, you know, they need to do something about it.
Yeah,
seriously. That's why some people are losing their lives out there, because you got people that don't know how to drive, that's never driven their whole life, and they come here, they buy a car, and they fly up and down the roads.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for the call, Dave. I appreciate it.
Thank you, buddy.
Yeah, man. Later. So I was gonna make the comment that I think that was the first time we've talked to Dave in Hendersonville where you don't hear the backing up beep, and then right at the end it started beeping while somebody was backing up. Dave is always working when we talk to him. I love Dave. Let's go to Ken on the border, line 1. Ken, you're next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. What's up, Ken?
Yes, sir. All you got to be is out here on I-24 at night, and you'll see them tag teaming the cars coming out of the auction blocks, and they're heading towards Georgia. And ain't a soul can speak any kind of English. And they're just going to rebuild those cars and put them back up for sale, either cut in half or whatever they do with them. But it goes on every week, just like clockwork. And it's always late at night, and you'll see them with all the flashers going, but they're running them. And I own a record service, so I see it on a regular basis.
No kidding. I mean, are these guys?
I don't need to mention the tow company, but I do own it. And
are these guys causing accidents?
And they'll have a wreck, and 3 or 4 cars will go off the road.
Jeez.
You know, and of course, I'm sure they got plenty of insurance. None. So, you know.
Yikes. Do you want to plug your towing company?
Nope.
All right,
don't need to. I don't want no more business. I'm sorry.
I love it. Well, good for you, Ken. I appreciate it, man. Let's go to Mark.
Right,
let's go to Mark. You're next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. What's up, Mark?
Hey, Chris, I know you're up against it. My big picture on this thing, I don't understand why there's not more discussion about this. This open border has all been Obama's dream from the very beginning.
Yep.
And his whole team. You know, to them, America has never been anything but just another country in this hemisphere.
Well, it's Obama's third term, Mark.
Exactly. I don't understand why there's not more discussion about this. They're going to take the political hit in the short term on this. They think this is just everything else is just collateral damage. They think long term, and this is what's being played out. From Madeleine Albright to their whole team, this is what they've dreamed about for years. People need to understand that.
You're absolutely right, Mark. Hey, we got a bunch more calls to get to, and we'll get to them on the other side. But before we do, we can slam into the news right after this. This is Obama confessing that he was doing a third term.
Term confession.
Oh, never mind. Wrong audio. It looked like it was, but you never know. You never know what you're going to get with Twitter. Whoops.
It's a heck of a tease, though.
Heck of a tease. I'll have the Obama third term stuff coming up. Plus, Greg, Jordan, Steve, Jeff, Mario, hang out with us, guys. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Eleven o'clock on the dot this Thursday morning. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast and traffic coming up. Another deadly school shooting in this country.
We've got an active shooter situation at Perry High School. We need you en route.
That's the call from Broadcastify.com right before classes started this morning in Perry, Iowa, about 40 miles outside of Des Moines. Law enforcement saying at least one person was killed. Dallas County Sheriff Adam Infante.
Officer first arrived within 7 minutes of that activation and located multiple gunshot victims.
No further danger to the public. Today was the first day back to school in Perry after winter break. More documents expected to come out later today connected to the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. It follows release yesterday of the first batch of sealed court papers. They include arguments in 2016 by attorneys for alleged victim Virginia Giuffre as they tried to depose former President Bill Clinton in her defamation lawsuit against Epstein associate Ghislaine Maxwell. Here's Aaron Katursky.
Clinton was never deposed. After Epstein's arrest, his spokesman denied Clinton was ever on the island. After Giuffre's allegations became public, the documents also show Epstein emailed Maxwell seeming to offer advice. You can issue a reward to any of Virginia's friends, acquaintances, family that come forward and help prove her allegations are false. The strongest is the Clinton dinner.
Giuffre made no allegations of wrongdoing against Clinton. A rise in respiratory illness leading to the return of mandatory masking in some hospitals in this country.
Mandatory masking is returning in some hospitals as 31 states and Washington, D.C. experience high or very high levels of respiratory activity. COVID hospitalizations up for 7 weeks straight, 30,000 new admissions just last week. The CDC estimating nearly 4,500 people have died from the flu so far this season.
Dave Packer reporting. Tennessee, by the way, among the states in the CDC's high to very high category of respiratory illness outbreak. Doctors at Ascension St. Thomas in Nashville tell the Tennessean they've treated at least as many COVID patients as flu patients this season. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
you know what? If I could make an arrangement where I had a stand-in, a front man or front woman, and they had an earpiece in, and I was just in my basement in my sweats, looking through the stuff, and then I could sort of deliver the lines, but somebody else was doing all the talking and ceremony. I'd be fine with that.
$11:05 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. The phone lines are jammed. People are talking about these, I don't know. I feel like they call them, what were they calling them? Border cars?
Border cars?
I feel like we could do something more fun.
Yeah.
Like Caterpillar cars. You know what I mean? Or like links in a chain, right? I don't know.
I typed Chihuahua cars.
Ooh, Chihuahua cars.
Yeah.
All right. That's cool, too. Let's go to Jeff in Lebanon. You're next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN, talking about the border. What's up, Jeff?
Hey, man, I'm back. Yeah, the Chihuahua cars are a real thing in Lebanon as well.
Jeez.
And I'm a farmer, so I've towed some sketchy loads in my life, but those are pretty. They're pretty good.
Yeah, I don't know how you make turns in those kind of things. Like, because how are they holding these cars together?
No, the ones I've seen, the last girl, she described them as chain, but most of the time they've got them on them like U-Haul dollies, where the front wheels go on and then the back wheels drag, and then they'll have a hitch on one of the cars, and they'll have another dolly behind it. There'll be 2, sometimes 3 in a line, but
That's
yeah, it's
crazy.
a real thing.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Thanks for the call, Jeff. I appreciate it. My favorite thing about Jeff, he says, I'm a farmer, so I've towed some sketchy loads in my lifetime. Fact check that. It's probably true. I would assume that is true. Let's go to Greg, who is on I-65 talking about border cars. Greg, you're next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. What's up?
Hi, Chris. I'm a retired truck driver with over 4 million miles under my belt.
Crazy. Good for you.
I have seen those from literally the East Coast to the West Coast. And like Jeff just said, generally they're hitched up with dollies. I've seen them with trucks, a vehicle in the bed of the truck with a group of other vehicles being towed in series behind that. Generally, there's 3 or 4 people with the loads, and I've seen them daytime and nighttime, to include on I-65.
That's wild. That's wild. And you got 4 million miles under your belt? You've probably seen some things.
I've seen more than my share of stuff.
I can imagine. Thanks for the call, Greg. I really appreciate it. We're also looking at your monitoring the Super Text line, 615-737-9986. Jason texted and he said, border cars for kids.
That's great.
1137 said conga line cars. I like that.
Nice.
Conga line cars. 4059 said, good afternoon, guys. I drive approximately 430 miles a day, and I see these cars. I've actually seen pickup trucks hanging out of the back of U-Haul trucks. What in the world?
I can't believe I've never seen any of this stuff. It's crazy.
It is crazy. Let's go to Mario in the borough. You're next on Super Talk. What's up, Mario?
Hey, how are you, Chris? Thank you for taking my call. Yeah, you can make good money if you take cars like that to Mexico, about $2,000, because they sell for about 4 to 5, and they do have these dollies, towing dollies that you hook them up to the back of a pickup truck, and then that one in chain reaction onto other cars, So if you take 3 to 4, you're making a little bit of money in about 3 to 4 days. But don't get me wrong, the government does take their money passing cars over there. You have to pay to pass them. You don't have to have them come back. You can pay like $500 or so, and knowing that you're not going to bring it back.
Interesting. That was going to be my next question: is how much is the government taking off the top there?
Yeah, it's kind of like insurance. You're pulling out an insurance on it, and if you don't bring it back, you don't get that money back. If you do, then you get that money back minus a fee.
Interesting. All right. Well, thanks for that.
But you can also send it out to Africa or somewhere on the Middle East. You just cost more money, but the people that do it that way, they don't send no Chevys, old-time cars. They send more like Lexus or Mercedes because that's what sells over there.
Yeah, or brand new Toyota trucks and stuff like that.
Yes.
Yep. Hey, appreciate the call, Mario. Thank you so much. I didn't know any of this stuff. Learn something every day. I swear we have like the smartest listeners.
Oh, for sure.
I can honestly attest that I've learned more from our listeners than they have learned from me since I started this show. I swear to you. Jordan in Nashville wants to talk license plates. Jordan, you're next on Super Talk. What's up, man?
Hey, man. Sorry, that was kind of deceiving. So I just had something quick to mention about court that will kind of blow your mind. But I do have a buddy that drives. He lives in Murfreesboro. He had a small car lot, I guess, in Smyrna a few years ago. But he had a buddy that got him hooked up with somebody that basically was an affiliate of a cartel member, and he was driving a wedge trailer, which is like a gooseneck trailer that you can put 4 or 5 cars on, but you can tow it behind, a pickup truck as long as it's a gooseneck or with a 3500.
Yeah.
He was getting paid $500 a trip just to run cars down to Mexico and come back.
Jeez.
And I mean, that's a common thing. And I've heard it from other people too. So it's not just, like people from south of the border that are doing this. There are Americans that are making a mint off of doing this. I mean, a couple times a week he was making that trip.
Oh, totally. I don't think it's just illegal immigrants or certain people doing it, and even like stories of like human smuggling. You'll find stories where American citizens, young college kids are making bank, driving people from the border up to Arizona and all. There's so many stories of that. I don't think it's one group in particular.
Man,
it's just
such a demand for it down there. It's crazy.
That's insane.
But what I really wanted to tell you about was a couple of years ago, it's been almost 2 years, I was in court in Robertson County, which is Springfield, north of Nashville.
Okay.
And before, the first business that the court took care of was all of the people that could not speak English that had driving infractions. And it was like 10 or 15 people that could not speak English that had to use a translator. And every single one of them was speeding over the limit, over the reckless driving limit, 20 miles an hour or more. There were some DUIs. Man, they basically got a slap on the wrist and a small fine. And then, because the first thing the judge asked was, do you have a license? And 90% of them said no. And he would give them a fine for, going 105 miles an hour, like a $60 fine. And then they would just let go. So we had to sit there and wait for all of that to get over with before they would serve, everybody else. And everybody that was an American citizen that was getting these, driving infractions or DUIs, they're all getting the book thrown at them. They got to do 2 days in jail. They lose their license free. But since these people were getting driving infractions with no license, they were just getting a little fine and then they would let them go.
Yeah, the American citizens are also the American citizens are also covering the court fees for those illegals, because if you're only getting a $60 fine, you're not even paying the bills for taking up the judge's time for that.
Yeah, and it just seemed like it was no big deal. I mean, it's just like business as usual in the courthouse. And there's no telling how often that goes on.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no repercussions. You can come here and you can milk off the system, and even if you get in trouble, you're probably going to get off of it.
Yeah, man.
They don't want to deal with it.
Yeah, I totally get it. Thanks for the call, Jordan. I appreciate you, man. Thanks for listening.
Thanks.
I got a text here from 1731 said, "Hey, Chris, Two things you're talking about. One, there's a huge increase in hit and runs in the state of Texas and has been for years due to illegals that are driving with no insurance. Experienced it myself 30 years ago when my oldest daughter was a baby. You know, when I lived in Detroit, it's everybody has to have no-fault insurance in Detroit and in Michigan. It's actually it's crazy. The insurance is so expensive that you would see people rear-end someone, and the person that got rear-ended would flee the scene.
Wow.
Because they didn't have insurance.
Whoa.
Yeah. So I totally get that. Hit and runs due to no insurance, but you know, being hit and then running, it's just Detroit things, I guess. I don't know. And he said, too, I moved to Tennessee 30 years ago from Texas and stay in contact with family and friends who are fearful and frustrated with the amount of illegals coming into Texas. Some of my friends are Hispanic, whose parents or grandparents came in legally, and this administration is allowing anyone and everyone to come in. They're pissed because some waited years to become citizens of this country, and that's not the case anymore. You know, I hear this so often, and there's so many stories of this where people that came in legally are the most upset about the illegal immigration. Like, if you went through the process the right way, and I mean, you chime in if you came in legally, because every time I talk to a legal immigrant, they are some of the most angry about the illegal immigration. 615-737-9986 is the number to call. If you came in legally, you have to be pissed when you see what's going on. You waited and you waited. You did the right things. You paid the money to do it. And then what? Somebody that just sneaks across and gets under razor wire that's been lifted by a forklift by the federal government, gets a cell phone, a flight, and a hotel room. How can that not be infuriating to you? Seriously, how can it not? I appreciate the text, 1731. Thank you so much. Let's go to Steve in Nashville next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. What's up, Steve?
Hey, have you never heard the term jalopy? That's where that term came from. They've been taking cars to Mexico since cars were invented, and this is not a new thing. The idea of tying four together and running them down the nice smooth interstates is maybe in the last 20, 30 years. But yeah, that's it. And also, I wanted to tell you a quick story. One of my friends, he's elderly man, passed away recently. Well, he had a car accident. It was his fault. He pulled out in front of somebody and he got hit. It was apparently an illegal alien, and the man jumps out and says, "Give me $500." And he said, "Oh no, I've never had an accident before, and I have excellent insurance. We'll call the police and get you fixed right up." And he didn't get the sentence said before the man was gone.
Oh my gosh. Jeez.
Yeah. But anyway, the thing was, this has been going on for 100 years. The term jalopy came from taking cars to Mexico rather than junking them out.
Yeah. All right. Good to know. I mean, hey, I was, I'm not shocked. I'm not surprised by it. I've just never heard of the chaining of four cars together. And
oh yeah, I used to see that 20 years ago when I was going home to Arkansas from Nashville.
No
on
kidding.
I-40.
That's crazy. Hey, thanks for the call, Steve. I appreciate it, man. Maybe it's because I grew up in New England. I didn't see any of this stuff. I don't know. I'm grateful I made it out of there, by the way.
Yeah, I didn't see any of it in Kansas.
Yeah. Weird.
Strange.
Ivan is on line 3, and he is a pissed immigrant. He's answering my call for pissed immigrants. What's up, Ivan? You're in Franklin. What's up?
How you doing? Yeah, I was born in Serbia.
Okay.
And moved. We fled communism. Moved to Canada, and then I fled socialism and moved to the U.S. in 2002.
Okay.
And I'm downright pissed with all these illegals coming in. I paid thousands of dollars to move here legally, to do it properly. And what winds up happening, they let thousands and thousands of them do it for free. They're just helping them along the way.
Oh, and helping turn the country socialist as we do it. You see free health care coming to illegals in California.
Exactly. And these Americans that think that socialism is okay, I had to flee Canada. People don't realize what socialism is, what it does, how you wind up living your life.
Yeah. Well, what's the free healthcare system like in Canada? Tell me about that. I've heard the stories.
Yeah, it's a bunch of garbage. I was taxed when I lived there. My income tax was 47%. Half of my check was going to the government, and it pays for healthcare. There is nothing free in this world. It is not free healthcare. They pay for it.
Yeah.
And you want to talk about being on a wait list when you get sick or when you need help with the older people? As soon as you reach a certain age, you're put on the back burner for anything that happens. If you got to go to a hospital or anything like that.
Yeah, it's insane. Yeah, and nothing's free. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. I'm just mad.
I get it. I'm mad for you, and I appreciate the call, Ivan. Thank you so much. One of the things the new Argentinian president, Milei, you know what he's doing? He's either done it or he's in the process of doing it.
Okay.
He's making it illegal for the government to use the word free.
Wow.
So he says it's a trick. They say free healthcare, but somebody pays for it, so it's not free. You can't use the word free. I like that.
Yeah, I like that too. Actually,
yeah, it's not
very
free.
deceiving.
It's insanely deceiving.
Ooh, free. Well, no
such thing as a free meal, guys. No such thing. It's 11:21 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Find me on Twitter, Instagram, Truth Social occasionally, at Chris Hand on Air. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Deadly school shooting this morning. Also, some money news. It is regarding jobs created in this country last month, apparently beating expectations. A little news about wages, too, coming up at 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Sean in Smyrna has been waiting patiently to talk about the border. You're next on Super Talk. What's up, Sean? Thanks for holding, my man.
What is happening, guys?
How are you doing, man?
Well, I mean, mind-boggling trips to Walmart is what's been going down. My most recent, my wife we were walking in. She was like, why do I feel like a minority right now? I'm like, well, let's just go inside. Every trip to Wally World, or we also call it the Asylum, is a treat for anyone. But this most recent trip made me walk out because I was looking for an item. I asked 3 people. Each person was of a different, like one was from the Middle East, one was probably from Nigeria, the other was from south of the border. All 3 of them looked at me like a ghost and did not speak English.
Really?
Yeah, it's just it's disheartening. It's like, what? You got to be kidding me. And I'm in the service industry. I'm driving around all day, probably do 150 to 200 miles a day, and I am avoiding multiple accidents. 90% of them are, you could tell, are just not from this country at all. 10 and 2, don't know what side of the road to drive on, no license plates. I mean, it's real. I didn't think it was real in Smyrna. It's a small town of Smyrna, 60,000 people. But it is right under our nose, and we are being infiltrated on a whole nother level. I don't think people realize when you open your eyes and see. I mean, I haven't seen those border cars, but I know when you go to Walmart, it's the first of the month. There's a lot of non-English foreigners there, and, you know, we're paying our hard-earned tax dollars are paying for these people to
without a doubt. And it's like we have short memories. It's like nobody really brings up the fact that we know that undocumented minors were being flown in the dead of night into Chattanooga in Tennessee. Like we don't even talk about that anymore. It's crazy.
Pretty frightening.
Yeah.
I know.
No, hey, I appreciate your call, Sean. I appreciate you holding, man. Thank you so much. Let's go to Steve in the borough. He's been holding for a minute as well, too. What's up, Steve? You're next on Super Talk.
Hey, I was calling about the proposed New Hampshire law, but just real quick, I hope people aren't mad about people taking junk cars to Mexico. Seems like a good thing. Like, take more there if you want. I'm okay with that.
I mean, it is until it lowers our supply, so we're paying higher prices.
I don't think there's any danger of that anytime soon. So, proposed New Hampshire law. I'm sure a lot of people are listening to that thinking, "Oh, that sounds like a great idea." But let's walk through this a little bit, okay? The average
let me reset for just a quick second. Let me reset the law for anybody that wasn't listening. So Republican legislatures in New Hampshire are hoping to pass legislation that would invalidate driver's license issued to illegal aliens in other states because Massachusetts gives driver's license to illegal aliens. So they want any person who holds a driver's license that is of a class of license issued by another state exclusively to undocumented aliens who are unable to prove lawful presence in the United States when the licenses are issued, the driver license or other permit purporting to authorize the holder to operate a motor vehicle on public roadways. B, it would make it invalid in the state of New Hampshire and would not authorize the holder to operate a motor vehicle in the state. That's what they are trying to push, and they would be charged with a misdemeanor under the bill.
So a couple of things. Number one, I'm just against driver's licenses anyway. We've willingly taken a right to travel, and we've given over to the government and said, oh, no, it's okay, we can make it a privilege now. But even if you're okay with driver's licenses, the next issue I have, now I realize you said something important there that I didn't hear you say earlier, is that they're looking for licenses, ostensibly Massachusetts at least, issues a license, and somehow they notate that license where it's other people know that this is an illegal immigrant license, if you will, illegal immigrant driver's license. I didn't understand that because what I was calling to say is who among us can prove we're Americans? I mean, it's not just from driving around, I should say. Yeah, if you could run home and grab your birth certificate, assuming you could even find it, or if you're a world traveler and you have a passport, sure, you could prove you're American. But just the average American driving around Tennessee to Kentucky or Tennessee to Georgia. I'm driving on 24 right now. I couldn't prove I'm American. I can prove I got a license.
Well, that's fair.
I can prove I got a license. I can't prove I'm American.
Yeah, but maybe you're. Yeah, I get where you're at. So, for instance, Rhode Island, which is just a couple states away, illegal aliens are eligible for driver's privilege cards, which allow them to legally drive through the state.
Yeah, and when you first mentioned it earlier, I don't think you mentioned any of that because probably I wouldn't have made the call because that's a little bit different. But if they were just saying, "Oh, well, you got to prove, you're supposed to be here lawfully," and they don't have that special nomenclature on those licenses, who among us could prove that? I mean, there's not many people that could, at least not while they're driving.
True. I think I do applaud them, though, for doing something. Last year, Massachusetts began issuing driver's license to illegal aliens. And they approved a law that gave state officials the authority to begin signing illegal aliens up for driver's license. Like, you have to do something. You can't just let it slide. Am I wrong?
Oh, sorry.
Steve, I don't hang. I'm not. I let people. I kind of have a conversation, man. I wouldn't just hang up on you.
Well, I didn't want to drag you into a whole other discussion because I believe in the Constitution, and Article 1, Section 8 is the enumerated powers of Congress, and not one of those enumerated powers does Congress have the authority to make law over immigration. They have law over citizenship, but not immigration. So I think the whole concept of and I'm not for open borders. That's a whole other issue. But people saying illegal immigrant, well, I'm like, well, you don't believe in the Constitution then, because there is no such thing as an illegal immigrant in the Constitution. But that's a whole nother.
I feel like you and I could have long conversations. I'm in the borough. If you ever see me, man, let's link up. Let's get a coffee or something. I appreciate the call.
We'll do it.
It's 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast in 2 minutes. A deadly school shooting this morning in Iowa. One person killed, others injured at Perry High School, just about 40 miles outside of Des Moines. This is the Dallas County Sheriff Adam Infante.
This happened at approximately 7:37 this morning. School didn't start yet, luckily, so there was very few students and faculty in the building.
Now, reports say the shooter is the person who died. Iowa Methodist Medical Center says they're treating 2 victims. Jim Ryan checks in this hour with some money news.
Payroll processing company ADP says private sector hiring soared last month, churning out 164,000 jobs in December. Those new workers apparently are making more money. ADP says annual pay last month was up nearly 5.5% from December of 2022.
That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. I recently did a workshop talking about some of the missteps of the investing industry, some of the biggest mutual fund companies out there. You probably recognize these names: Fidelity, Vanguard, Raymond James, Edward Jones, actually using data and information from their own websites as I walk through this. Now, one of the things I was talking about is diversification and how investors could be in for a rude awakening at the amount of risk that they actually have in their portfolios, and they don't even realize it. Now, the example I like to use to help people understand why do these huge companies do this? I mean, these are big companies. And you go, well, why? Well, think about the diet industry. In the diet industry, you had things like this: fat-free this, fat-free that, fat-free that. And what happened is they did a study. They were looking at diabetes in children. And what they found was that when they went fat-free, they actually ended up with more diabetes rather than less, because what they substituted for fat was sugar. Now, what happens in the mutual fund industry, they tend to keep costs low by investing in very narrow areas of the market that are inexpensive to manage. So what happens is the investor ends up with more risk than they think that they've got. Now, why do they do that? Because you are actually attracted by low costs. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't use these big mutual fund companies. It just means that you have to be eyes wide open. As an investment firm, we help people sidestep these things because sometimes you have no choice. You have a 401k, you're dealing with these fund companies, and you can't go anywhere else. So what we do is we help you go around these landmines. To set up an initial 15-minute phone call, go to our website, paulwinkler.com, or you can just scan the QR code right here. We look forward to talking with you.
But let's keep in mind, these people that are wanting to come here, they want to come for a better life too. They have kids too. They have a heart too. So we don't need to be disrespectful. We don't need to talk about them as criminals. They're not. They're families that want a better life, and they're desperate to get here.
That was Nikki Haley in 2015. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. The clip has been going viral on the socials. You know, it wouldn't shock me if Nikki Haley changed her mind. It seems like she does that whenever she sticks her finger up in the air to see which way the political winds are blowing. I'm not the only one that says it. Shoot. Chris Christie was on The View yesterday, and he kind of feels the same way about Nikki Haley now that I felt about her for a while. Do you know what he said about Nikki Haley?
What did the big man have to say?
He said, and I quote, "She would eat glass to be VP."
Oh,
eat glass.
Wow.
Give DeSantis credit for this. He said he would not take vice president under Trump under any circumstances. I've said I wouldn't take vice president under Trump. Nikki Haley won't say it. And I talked to a politician in South Carolina this weekend who knows her really well. And I said, am I reading this wrong? And he said to me, Governor, she would eat glass to get the vice presidential nomination under Trump.
She would eat glass.
Wow.
This is the same guy that defended her honor and went full white knight to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's the same guy. Weird. Now he's saying she would eat glass. She would eat glass to be vice president. Larry texted and he said, so would the people who push her. Oh,
yeah.
Larry, ruthless. And then 8602 said, they're all criminals that broke into our country illegally. Thank you. Yes, they are. James in Lebanon, you're next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. What's up, James?
Hey, good morning, brother. How are you?
Good, man. How you doing?
I could be better. Just wanted to touch on the border. I wanted to throw it out there. These Border Patrol agents have one job, and we all know what it is. They are literally receiving by hand. They are receiving illegal invaders from the cartel operatives and bringing them into our country.
Mm-hmm.
There might be a word that describes that. I'll let you touch on that. But we need to wake up. When you're watching PBR in the evening and these bull riders are wearing protected by Border Patrol, I'm not sure what that means anymore.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, it's a good take, James. I appreciate it. And you're right about the cartel. Thanks for the call. You know, here's the thing. I had the opportunity to talk to former ICE director Tom Homan and when I was in Arizona for Turning Point USA's America Fest. And he told me that there's two different prices that you pay to cartels. You pay one price if you want to be apprehended by Border Patrol. You pay another price if you don't want to be apprehended by Border Patrol. And that to me was kind of eye-opening because you think about how many people we have being apprehended when it's record numbers being apprehended. And then you think there's people paying a higher price to not be apprehended. Who are those people? And when you're overwhelmed with, 300,000 people in a month coming in, how many paid the higher price to not be apprehended, and who are they? Is it 10,000? Is it 15,000? Is it 25, 50, 75? You know what I mean? How many is it? And why didn't they want to be apprehended? It's fascinating to think about. Scary to think about, in all honesty. Scary. TJ in Gallatin, you're next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. What's up, TJ?
Hey, Chris, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you doing, miss?
I'm doing pretty good. I have two short stories for you, but keep in mind I'm from Texas and I can only talk so fast.
Okay.
Okay. My Texas story is illegal aliens is what I call them, and that's a nice name.
That was quick. I don't know.
Hey, that's a nice name. Well, I jumped back pretty fast. But my husband and I worked 12-hour shifts in the 70s, and I found a babysitter that seemed pretty decent, Spanish lady. Well, come to find out, it was a stash house for illegals, and one of them raped my 6-year-old son.
Jeez, I'm sorry to hear that.
Well, that's okay, honey. That was in the 70s. It's under the bridge. My son is no longer with us. My husband went to kill the guy, but they done picked it up and run. Okay, that was my Texas experience, but
That's
I will
heartbreaking.
tell you this.
That's heartbreaking.
That
I'm sorry.
goes
I'm sorry
on.
you had to deal with that.
That's right, honey. That goes on all the time in Texas. It is a common practice for illegal horn dogs to rape children. I mean, it's an everyday thing for them. Okay, since I'm up here in Gallatin, Tennessee, my experience with the illegals is they're ripping us off. They're these contractors, these building contractors that hire them, they take these appliances that's supposed to be put in houses, new houses, and they deliberately damage them. They stack them up on trailers on top of each other, ship them around to these southern states, Florida, South Carolina, Georgia, and sell them. How do I know this? I bought one. It had been kicked off of a trailer or off of something, and it had dents in it, but it was brand new other than that. Come to find out, it lasted a year. I had a guy come out here to work on it, and it had been welded in the back, the Freon line. Okay, we're getting screwed that way. They're screwing the builders, and they're screwing the people they're selling them to. If you look on Craigslist, you'll recognize the ads because they use all caps in their ads. They don't spell their words correctly. This is also on Hip Gallatin, Hip Hendersonville, and different ones. So I advise anybody that's looking for used appliances, do your homework.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And I have reported this. Nothing's done about it.
No.
Nothing's done.
And nothing probably will be done about it, unfortunately.
No, but I see them go down my road, and they got washers and dryers and dishwashers stacked on top of each other. And I think, there they go again.
Yep.
The refrigerator I bought was brand new, delivered to a lady in South Carolina. How did it end up here in Gallatin? It was brought up here by the illegals. They got this little mafia ring going on in that industry.
Interesting.
I want the buyers to beware. Check out your ads.
Hey, thanks for sharing your story. I appreciate you, TJ. Thank you so much. That's a tough. That first story is tough to hear. Tough to hear. But you hear stories like that every day via what's happening at the southern border. And then you got guys like Alejandro Mayorkas telling you, there's nothing going on, nothing to worry about. And then Democrats stick up for this guy. They do. Democrat Rep. Mark Veazey, who is in Texas. He's in Texas. This guy is in Texas. Says Alejandro Mayorkas is doing... he's doing the best job he can.
It's this news this morning about these impeachment proceedings moving forward against Secretary Mayorkas. Congressman, your reaction to that, and how would you describe the job he's done so far?
I think Mayorkas is doing the best job that he can, to be quite frank.
Oh, he's doing the best job he can, to be quite frank. To be quite frank. The best job he can. You know, to a certain extent, maybe that's partially true. Maybe if Biden could executive order some of these policies back in, like remain in Mexico, like ending catch and release, maybe Mayorkas would be able to do a better job. That being said, I hope they speed up this impeachment process and get it going as quickly as they can. Governor Abbott tells sanctuary city mayors, get ready for more illegals because he's sending them your way.
Won't do their job. You're trying to do their job for you, and now they want to stop you from doing their job. If I picked up people at the border and I took them to another state, would I be arrested and convicted?
Well, you got to do it in a way so that it does not turn into kidnapping. And Texas is doing it in a very legal way. when we send people to New York, to Washington, D.C., to Chicago, to L.A., to Denver, to wherever they're going to, it's done by the letter of the law to make sure that nothing is wrong. However, what we have found is the hypocrisy of the mayor of New York, of the mayor of Chicago, of the mayor of Denver, and of California, things like that, where they say, oh, we want to be a sanctuary city. We want to provide all these free benefits to migrants, but then they start complaining when Texas starts dropping them off into their states or into their communities. Listen, this is a responsibility caused by the Joe Biden administration. And these Democrat mayors, they need to wake up to the reality that their communities are going to continue to face challenges, including more buses and planes, unless and until Joe Biden starts enforcing the immigration laws of the United States.
And I think that these mayors should get on Joe Biden to do something, but they're too busy blaming Abbott for what he's doing. But Abbott's supposed to just take it? Everything Abbott does to try and secure the border, the Biden administration sues him over. So, yeah, get ready. Liberal sanctuary city mayors, more are coming. Eric Adams was asked by Wolf Blitzer if he's been outsmarted by Abbott. And I feel like that's such a loaded question because really, it's like he's been duped by Biden.
Have you been outsmarted by the Texas governor, Greg Abbott?
No, anyone who has a diabolical mind would do diabolical things.
Oh, Greg Abbott is diabolical. Or maybe he's talking about Joe Biden. I think that describes Joe Biden more than Greg Abbott.
Don't.
Oh, sorry.
No, anyone who has a diabolical mind would do diabolical things to just treat people in an inhumane way. We handle over 164,000 migrants and asylum seekers, and we're doing it in a humane way. We're very clear that we're going to continue to adjust as the governor of Texas carry out these actions to make sure that we send a very clear and loud message. No bus company should be participating in this action, and we're going to communicate with our partners in this region and make sure that we tell them they should file the same level of executive order to stop this from taking place.
So, yeah, he's been outsmarted by Abbott. Spoiler alert. You've been outsmarted. But really, again, you've been duped by Joe Biden. You were duped by all of the sunshine and rainbows that he sold you on the way to his presidency, as every Democrat was, and we've seen the failures of his presidency and his policy every single step of the way. Yet the media will continue to cover for him and his administration and the wide open border. In fact, when it comes to the border, they won't cover it at all. It's 11:48 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. 11:50 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand, joined in studio by the one, the only Matt Murphy. What's up, Matt?
Hello. God dang it. Hello. How are you guys?
You know, Matt.
It's on me. That's on me.
No,
Shouldn't trust him.
Don't.
I shouldn't trust him.
Don't take him lightly, Mac.
I'm a guest.
Mac.
Hey, Mac.
You gotta turn on his mic, Mac. Sorry.
Come on, man. Hello, Chris Hand. How are you?
Good, man. How are you?
I didn't realize you were spectacles.
So
should I have known that?
I don't know. If you want to.
You look great.
Thank you.
You look great in them.
Appreciate it.
Look good. Some people can't pull that off.
I try.
You can pull it off.
Thank you. I try.
What's going on with you? What's up in your world? Any news?
No. There's been no new news. Nothing happening in the country. Quiet day.
I'm going to go off. I'm going to go off in the 12 o'clock hour. And it's not going off at anybody in particular. It's just going off. Because what I've experienced over the last 24 hours, and I'm not blaming anyone for it, is a lot of sound and fury signifying nothing.
Yeah.
Because none of this list is going to get us any closer to conviction of anybody.
Here's the thing that really bugs me. The same FBI that sat on Hunter Biden's laptop since 2019 is sitting on a trove of evidence from the blackmail operation that Epstein ran. Videos, audio, pictures, and they're sitting on it.
Where's that?
The FBI has it.
Right.
But we're not allowed to look at it.
I just want to know. I just want someone that I trust to tell me there's an ongoing investigation and we can expect criminal charges against someone.
Yeah.
That's all I want.
Please.
That's all I want. And what we get is, Michael Jackson had association with Jeffrey Epstein. Who doesn't know that Michael Jackson was a pedophile?
Well,
I mean, right?
Some people debate that.
Well, I don't. Michael Jackson was a pedophile.
Yeah.
Prove me wrong.
But there's nothing, but there's no actionable items about him in there. And I think, so people were surprised about Stephen Hawking. And I thought that was weird that people were surprised because there's been pictures of him floating around on Epstein Island for years.
I want to know who well, it's gross. That's just gross. It's all gross to me. And I just want people to be criminally charged, convicted, and put in jail.
Yeah.
Over attacking innocent children.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bingo.
That's what we want. And I don't know that we're going to get that because there are way too many powerful people that are preventing those that do want justice from achieving the justice that, I don't know.
And am I wrong for thinking that the FBI is more than happy to just have the blackmail for blackmail purposes?
Yeah, I mean, it's a part of the deep state, and that's a blanket statement, but I don't know. I genuinely don't know why they would be holding that information except for what you just said.
But it's like they have a long history of having blackmail and using it for blackmail purposes dating back to J. Edgar Hoover.
Oh, yeah, MLK and all of that kind of thing. And, I knew he had an affair, so we're going to hold that over him because he's a communist or whatever. Yeah, I mean, it's one of the reasons that I've long said, I don't know, I'm guessing, I don't want to guess. I bet you agree with me that the only thing that will salvage the FBI is to destroy the FBI.
Yeah.
I understand that we need a national security agency.
Absolutely.
I understand that, but you need to build that you need to build that from the foundation.
Yeah, you need to.
This is a corrupted organization.
It needs to be just gutted and rebuilt, renamed, rebrand.
And this is an example of that, right? If they're holding information that we need to see criminal charges, I mean, I don't know. I get frustrated because I think this is a week-long story and it'll go away and nothing will be done about it, and it infuriates me.
Well, but the thing that I would get it if you're withholding it, and I know this might sound bad, but it's like if you're withholding it because you literally think the public would lose their minds, like if you had a conversation with somebody about this and said there's an elite blackmail ring that has compromised our political leaders, the royal family. And if you had said that to somebody 10 years ago, they look at you like you're crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So if you didn't want to drop that 10 years ago because you think the public can't handle it and people would go mad and there would be chaos in the streets, I get that. But now you can literally have a conversation with anyone. Everybody's at least a little bit aware of all of this, and nobody's going to freak out no matter how dark or devious the evidence is.
I would agree. And I don't think withholding information based on how people react to it is a justifiable reason for withholding the information to begin with either.
Fair enough.
I mean, I mean, so we freak out. Okay, well, I think we should be freaking out. If there is a network of billionaires and millionaires that are running pedophile rings
and countries
in various, then we need to know about that. I think we need to freak out about that a little bit.
I think it's time. Let's go. And if leadership at the FBI doesn't want to release it, then they need to go.
Yeah, we need to get rid of them. And, blather about, we need to get rid of Christopher Wray. That's surface level stuff.
Yeah. Is he even
you replace one bureaucrat with another bureaucrat? And
is he even the one in charge,
I mean, and that's what we're left with. We're wondering who's making these decisions.
Yeah.
Who within the FBI is making decisions like this? Is it the Department of Justice? Is it someone? I don't know. Is it someone else? It's all frustrating because we get no closer to criminal convictions, which is what I want to see.
And that's all we all want to see. And even when it comes to Bill Clinton, they put this stuff out there. Oh, Bill likes him young, and we get the headline. But like, you have evidence on him, and you ignore it.
Yeah, because he's Bill Clinton.
But they'll blast Trump. They'll say, like, there was that one page in these documents where he said Epstein bragged about going to his casino. Oh, and then, I saw the Republicans Against Trump Twitter account has 500,000 followers. It's a big Twitter account. They put that out there and go, see? It's like, oh, Epstein would go to a public place.
Oh, and
where the public is allowed.
And also, here's what I know, I happen to know, and anybody that's invested in the truth will know this too. That Donald Trump did have an association with Jeffrey Epstein in the 1990s. And when Donald Trump discovered what Jeffrey Epstein was in the 1990s, he kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago and had no more associations with him. Bill Clinton's associations with Jeffrey Epstein went into the 2010s.
There's a comment from there's an attorney, Bradley Edwards, who represented 70 Epstein victims, and this is what he said about Donald Trump.
Nothing at all. The only thing that I can say about President Trump is that he is the only person who, in 2009, when I served a lot of subpoenas on a lot of people, or at least gave notice to some pretty connected people that I wanted to talk to them, he is the only person who picked up the phone and said, let's just talk. I'll give you as much time as you want. I'll tell you what you need to know, and was very helpful in the information that he gave.
There you go.
And gave no indication whatsoever that he was involved in anything untoward whatsoever, but had good information that checked out and that helped us, and that we didn't have to take a deposition of him.
That was in 2009?
That was in 2009.
There you go.
I mean, that's an attorney that represented victims of Epstein's.
Yeah. I mean, but because his name, and to oversimplify this and to talk about the list, and Donald Trump's on the list, and Bill Clinton's on the list, well, you're not getting to the truth of the matter is who was associated with Jeffrey Epstein in a way where they were engaged in pedophilic activity, and when are those people going to be criminally charged? When is Bill Clinton going to be criminally charged?
When is the FBI going to show us the evidence that they have?
And if they don't have any, then someone in authority needs to step forward and look at Chris Hand and Matt Murphy and say, we have no evidence. Okay, I will. I don't know that I believe you, but at least that's an answer.
But they raided his New York home. They raided his island. They raided the New Mexico joint.
They got something.
They have to. I've seen the pictures online. I'm sure you have too, of the boxes of hard drives and DVDs and all the things.
Hey, they were busy. They're too busy raiding Mar-a-Lago. They can't.
Yeah,
they can't go through all that stuff.
Got to go through Melania's underwear drawer, right?
That's exactly right.
Yeah. Weird.
Anyway, we'll talk about that, and I've got Carol Swain on the show today.
Oh, cool.
She's going to talk about Claudine Gay's resignation at Harvard, and Jack Johnson's going to talk about the Tennessee General Assembly and whether or not we had any sort of threats against our state capitol like other state capitals have had. So that's going on.
I love it. All right, hang out with us. Matt Murphy's in next. We got a lot more going on all day long right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. In the meantime, find us on Instagram, Twitter, at Chris Hand on Air, at Matt Murphy Show on the Twitters.
At Matt Murphy Show. Hello.
It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN.